Good and fair evening, my friends. Welcome back to the tavern. It's so very good to see you all. Let's see, who all do we have in? We have Frost, we have Erin, we have Bethany, and we have Gunnar over on Twitch, and we have Patrice over on the Facebook portal. Hello, my friends, and welcome in. It's so very good to see you. To answer your question, Frost, I am feeling better. I'm not back to 100% yet, but I can see now, so that's a good thing. I was able to run a few errands this morning, so that was quite all right. No, it's all right. Presently means within the present moment of some time. Or at least that's how I mean it. I don't know how other people would mean it, but when I say presently, I mean within the next few minutes to half hour is generally what I think when I say presently. When I say it here, I usually mean within the next 10 minutes or so. You saved me from my 13th Warhammer 40k video today, so thank you for that. I don't know, is that me saving you though? Erin, hello, good to see you. Bethany, hello. Yeah, I am on the mend. The lady has made sure that I am strictly sticking to the necessities only and not doing anything that's unnecessary. Trying to keep myself occupied but not overly occupied, and keeping my workload to a minimum while I've been recovering. This one hit me sort of like a truck. Destiny Love, hello, good to see you. 61 months in a row, what a bleeding legend. Thank you for the resub. Erin, thank you for the resub as well. I forgot, let me pop your... Enjoy your Yule log, we only have them for a little bit longer in the season. And Erin, I'll pop yours too, because they don't pop up on the starting screen, so you get your Yule log as well. We miss your face as well. It's been a while since you've been in for a full or even a partial session. Actually, I don't know if you've been in for any of the ladies' story times. But hello everyone, welcome in. Grab your seats, settle in. But yeah, I don't know exactly what happened. I was basically doing about 4 hours a night of sleep, which is definitely a contributor, but then I got the flu. And then the other morning I woke up and I couldn't see anything. My head was throbbing so bad that my eyes were swimming, and I've had very little ability to see things for the last 3 or 4 days or so. Patrice, you've never been to one, well, welcome in. Tonight we are reading from, let me see if I can find it, it's somewhere over here. Tonight we will be reading from A Darkness. Now we are quite far in the book, so you might be lost. I'll give a recap before we start, for anyone who is new. Jared Shaver, my friend, hello, welcome in, it's good to see you. So, for anyone who's new, generally how Storytime goes is we tend to waffle a bit. We'll have conversation, we'll talk about storytelling, we'll talk about myth, we'll catch up with comrades and friends in the tavern, and then typically I'll spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours reading stories, and then occasionally we sing songs. Leanne Rice, hello! Leanne Rice is an interesting name. And good evening and welcome in. My schedule is kicked my butt, I can only imagine. I've been highly addicted to a video game the past couple of weeks, or the past week. Which one are you addicted to, Jared? I haven't played any games in a long time. I used to be a prolific player of video games, or a gamer if you will, and I've just been too busy. Yeah, I've been getting on a more normal sleep schedule, and it messes with me to stay up for... No, that's alright, that's alright. The lady and I are adjusting our schedules as well. Soon, we'll be on a... where this will be starting at 4:30, as it was supposed to earlier. The lady set it up, so because we haven't done like a lore stream in a while where we just sit in and we talk about story time. So, okay, real quick, because I see a bunch of new folk dropping in. Dylan, hello, welcome in. Eleanor, hello, welcome in. If this is your first time in or second time in, we have multiple portals open. I'm not a lunatic. I'm not just talking to myself. You can jump into the tavern from any one of the portals that is open, that is TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, or Kick, whichever is your preferred platform. And the most fervent conversation tends to happen over on the Twitch portal, but you're welcome to watch wherever you're most comfortable. If you are on the Facebook or YouTube portal, you're going to be about 30 seconds behind everyone else because that's just the way that the platforms work. I apologize. I can't do anything about that. That's just how they tend to work. But yes, I will give a recap of where we are in the story because this is actually the fourth book in the series. So we'll give a gentle recap so that everybody knows what's going on, and then we'll carry on to the end. But yeah, the lady set up a goal to do a lore stream because we haven't done a lore story time in a while. It's called Delta Force. It's a military simulation game. Those can be addicting. My brother used to play one way back in the day called Velvet Assassin, which isn't a simulation game, but it was sort of like a precursor to the Hitman games, and he invested hours in that. I didn't get notifications. That's all right, Matty. We've only been up for a few minutes. Not a big deal. Twitch is Black Dragon Tavern Gaming, though don't be deceived, we do very little gaming over there. There should be a link in the beacon in my bio if you're over on Facebook, Dylan. Daniel Lee Tackett, hello, I'm new too. Well, welcome in, Daniel. It's very good to have you. I'm sorry I almost missed you. The mixed conversation was rolling a little bit fast there. I downloaded it last week and I'm already close to 100 hours. That is a fervent addiction, my friend. Not much, Joker. Just getting ready for story time. I've been down and out for the last week. I caught the flu on Saturday of last week, Friday of last week, and then that just degraded into me barely being able to walk or see for a couple of days. I am feeling better. I'm still a little bit tipsy in the head, Cassie, but I'm doing much better, thank you. Big Darth Nexus, thank you for the rose, my friend. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. It is butterbeer time indeed. Kayla, glad you're better. Me too. I do not enjoy not being able to work. It's one of my least favorite things is not being able to get stories done and to be here to open the doors for everyone. Well, right now I'm only part-time on my job, so like why not spend a little bit extra in the day? I mean, if you're enjoying yourself, why not? Going to kiss hubby and be right back. He's playing video games. I'm glad you're doing better. Thank you, Patrice. I appreciate you. Thank you kindly. Ace, hello, good evening. So Talk, good to see you. Welcome in. I have to get my teeth looked at tomorrow. I'm so listening. The dentist is one of those very common dislikes, isn't it? I don't think anybody really likes going to the dentist, especially when they got to scrape on your teeth or drill into them. It's because it's so close to your brain, you can just hear it all. The vibrations just get right in there and mess up all of the vibes in your brain, I guess. I think that he says, Amanda Edwards. Hello, how are you doing today? I'm doing wonderful. How are you? Hope you're faring well. We're just getting ready to start story time. Is Matty in here? Matty is in here, okay. Tyson, I don't know if I said hello. I'm back, I hope I didn't miss anything. You didn't miss anything. We tend to waffle quite a bit. So again, for anyone who's new here, we call it waffling, and that is where we just sort of have a conversation. And you can get to know other patrons of the tavern this way. We talk and have questions. We will be starting here soon though, because we are behind a little bit on this, and we want to get done by the end of the month so we can have ourselves a readathon. I saw you in. I'm not sick, but I feel tipsy in the head too. Hello, I've first day back to work today after a much needed mini vacation. And I had so much to do to catch up today, I was worried I was forgetting things. Don't you hate that? Even when you're prepared, but you have a lot to do, sometimes it feels like there's no way you can get it all done. I respect your way. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you for that. Thank you kindly. Mary Beth just popped in to get my tavern fixed. Be back on Thursday. All right, Mary Beth. Rest well, and may you rise tomorrow ready to conquer the day, and we'll see you back then. Ace, it's been a busy day with work and my characters screaming for attention too. That will happen. It's the fluoride and teeth cleaning I hate the most. Yeah, I don't particularly care for just having my teeth grinded on. And as I've gotten older, they've gotten more sensitive because I have bad teeth as it is. From multiple reasons, I have bad teeth. So the dentist is hellish for me. I also have nerve issues, so like I can't feel most surface sensation on my skin, but I can feel my teeth, and I just don't like it. Oh, Nicholas, I did see your earlier message. I forgot to say hello. Hello, Nicholas. Good to see you. I have been as busy as a merchant in Tamriel. Well, wait, Tamriel. Where is Tamriel? Hang on. I'll remember. Tamriel is... We are. I was down ill for a week, because I'm an idiot and I wasn't sleeping and eating and drinking or doing anything properly. But the lady has remedied that and is making sure that I go to bed on time and making sure that I'm fed and watered like a fragile houseplant. Teresa, hey, I'm going to be playing in the background with my friend for a few days or weeks. Oh, all right. Well, I hope you have fun, Teresa. Dylan made it in. Don Pimpin 420. I appreciate the username. Elder Scrolls. Okay, all right. I was thinking Skyrim, but I couldn't remember it. I didn't want to sound like an idiot, even though I often sound like an idiot. Yeah, please don't forget to hydrate. I'm doing much better, Joker. I'm doing much better. I was able to walk today, so that was a big improvement, because I could only just barely walk the last couple of days without falling over. Also, the lady's help with that thing I asked her has basically made my health authority too scared to use that deemed consent stuff. Well, see, there you go. Well, thank you, Leon. It came with the rest of my head. My accent does tend to confuse people because it's vaguely Irish, but I don't sound like most Irish folk. And that's because most of my family don't sound like Irish folk. Because we're Scandinavian and we're Southern Irish, but we're from Wicklow, Limerick, and Down, and it's all over the place. But yeah, Dylan, your name is peak, as the kids would say, it's peak Twitch. I love it. Very good. All I had to do was show it to a clinic, and they went, well, I'm not risking this. Yeah, well, see, there you go. Oh, and clean out your closets. It's time to get new bed sheets. Rain, hello. Good to see you. Welcome in. So, okay, so you can subscribe. It's, we don't ever push these things because I try to put out everything for everybody for free, so... But yeah, you can subscribe. We put out short videos every now and again for subscribers and for supporters on Patreon and YouTube and all of that. I like to just put everything out for everybody for free, so it's not as regular as I would like it to be. And yeah, stars are tips. That is what they are. Don't ever feel pressured to do it. Whatever you do, if you do decide to, it's wonderful. But don't ever feel pressured to do so. Nicholas Campbell, hello, welcome in over on the Facebook portal. Hello. Ashley, hello, Castle and Tavern family. Sorry I'm late. No, you're not late at all. A wizard arrives precisely when she means to. Although you will be surprised at who else is in here. The Capitan has joined us for the first time in forever. That's excellent, Matty. Spectacular to hear. Okay, we're gonna run ads real quick over on the Twitch portal. Twitch makes us do it. You sit through 3 minutes of them, 3 minutes of them, and we won't be interrupted. Otherwise, they'll just interrupt us at random with however long they would like to do, and that's just no fun for anybody. So we're gonna do 3 minutes of ads over on Twitch. If you are on Turbo or subscribe to the channel, then it won't affect you. But otherwise, 3 minutes I'm not going to read until we get back, and then we will be. I've had it since Xbox 360. It sounds like an old Xbox tag. If I had to guess, that's what I would have said to him. Todd, Tedrick, hello, welcome in. So very glad you could join us. Yep, just ate a smidge. Molly Sue, good. Glad that you could make it in. Hello again. I have been catching more and more of your content. I really enjoy it. Thanks for all the great stories. Delano, it is my absolute pleasure to be your storyteller. I appreciate you for all the love and support. For every single thing that you guys sit and watch, the more we can make stories and write books and tell more stories here in the tavern. So for every one of you that sits and watches just 60 seconds of a story, it allows us to make all the more stories and maybe someday do them in, and maybe someday soon do them in new and fun and interesting ways. Yeah, no, I haven't even started reading yet. Oh, good. Fate hath decreed, destiny must appear every now and then to assure the flow of time. That's true. That's true. All right, we're going to run ads real quick and then we'll be right back. 3 minutes and then story time. We will begin. Georgia, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. Wow, we are bustling in the tavern tonight. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all. So very glad that everyone could join us. Okay, so we are going to be doing Raymond Eve Fights to Darkness at Sethanon. Now, this is the third book in the series. Fourth book in the series. It goes Magician Apprentice, Magician Master, Silverthorn, and then A Darkness at Sethanon. Now, you don't actually need to have read the books. The books stand pretty well on their own as like individual adventures. So you don't actually have to have read the previous books to be attached to the characters or stories. Feist is really good at writing episodic novels. Now, you do get a lot of fun, like cross-reference in there if you have read all of the books, but you don't have to read the books to get the story. Essentially, we are focused on, these 4 books are focused on a royal family, the sons of Duke Boric, who are Arutha and, I can't remember his name. Esther, hello, welcome in, it's good to see you. It's your first time here, Leanne? Well, I'm glad that you've made it in. I assume you wandered in from one of the other story times, the short story times that we put out on Facebook. I assume is where you wandered in from, or did you just see me somewhere and say, "Hey, that fella looks like he could tell a story"? Facebook don't have ads, so I'm back on here. That's all right. That's all right. I understand. The Twitch tends to be more stable and it's faster. YouTube and Facebook don't have ads, so some people will watch on YouTube and Facebook because they don't have ads, which I totally get. And then some folks just stay over on Twitch because it's the fastest and that's where all of the chatting goes on. So, but yes, so we're focused on essentially 4 people. We have the Sons of Duke Boric, which are, the main one is Arutha, that's the one we primarily follow. And his half-brother, Martin, is a pretty important character as well, but not a central character. And then we have Pug and Tomas. Pug and Tomas were squires. They were essentially peasant boys in Duke Boric's court, and they found themselves more or less entangled in the depth of the story. Pug was kidnapped to another world in the first novel and became a powerful magician, and now he is the kingdom's most powerful... Liam, thank you. Liam and Martin, thank you, Bear. Appreciate you. Liam is the middle brother, and Martin is the oldest brother, but he's a half-brother. So Pug is now the most powerful magician in Menkemia, that's the world that we're in. And this book focuses on a big bad called Myrmandamus. Myrmandamus was the bad guy in this book as well, but the first time we really see him in action is in A Darkness at Sethanon. I'm glad I caught Storytime, currently making a list of stuff I need to replace. Shower curtains. Shower curtains are one of those things that get very gross very fast, in my opinion. Was sent your link on Facebook. Oh, wonderful! So someone shared it with you. Facebook. Oh, I already read that. Okay. Also, Castle, I took a suggestion on book 3. Barry is now primarily pit against 2 irredeemable antagonists, but one is slated for death. The other is slated to end up respecting Barry, but not agreeing with her. That could be very interesting. Ooh, Storytime, I love your videos. Well, Hippie, I'm very glad. I'm glad that you could drop in. Now, again, for anyone who is new, there are multiple portals open, so I'm not a lunatic just talking to myself. We have folk dropping into the tavern through Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Kick, and TikTok. So wherever you're coming in from, you're welcome to stay wherever you are, but if the most... My brain stopped for a second. The most active chat is over on Twitch if you want to get to know more of the Twitch regulars. Chef Vanilla Gorilla, hello and welcome in. Been a while, it has been a while. Martin is Boric's bastard, later legitimized as the eldest son, correct. And technically I am a lunatic talking to myself, because I am in a room by myself, speaking to no one, through a magic portal. And you can't argue that it isn't a magic portal, because I'm literally speaking to nothing, and it is being transported by electricity to all of you. Electricity and light. That's magic if I've ever heard it. I wouldn't have it any other way, lunatic. I mean, I am. It is magic, more or less. By any degree, it is magic. Herring, hello and welcome in. I don't know if I am magical, but I have access to magical things. Stories, for one, and then the ability to send those stories out into the broad, wide world through the doors and windows of the tavern. It's kind of like a phone call, which I think we don't appreciate the miracle that phone calls are. Like, it is an absolutely, like, people used to die delivering letters. Like, it used to take almost the full breadth of someone's life to deliver a message. And now we just do it like that. Yeah, it is sort of a faith thing, if we're being perfectly honest. Okay, getting back to the summary here. This book focuses on the big bad Myrmandamus, who we don't know where he's from most of the book. We just learned at the end of the book, and I'll get there, because we are very close to the end. We just learned where he is coming from. Hippie, if you go over to the beacon in my bio, I have some recorded chapters of books over on my Endless Epic channel, if you want to listen to just some read story times to fall asleep to. I have the first chapter of The Hobbit, I have some King Arthur stories, and a few other ones. I have more that are going to be up, but for now, there's a couple up there if you want something to listen to as you go to sleep. And if you are a Tolkien fan, we're having a readathon in the next few weeks, probably in the next 3 weeks or so, and we'll be going through as much of the Tolkien catalogue as we can and all of that. So your Gandalf's reverse brother, something like that, something like that. So Arutha is prophesied. Very magical time. Good story tonight. Excellent story tonight. These books, I'm blocking them. These books have been some of the best recommendations that we've gotten from tavern patrons. It has been one of my favorites, because I never would have read this if it hadn't been for the recommendation. With Tolkien, you mentioned, yes, God, yes. So Arutha was prophesied to stop Myrmandamus. We still don't know why, but he was prophesied to stop Myrmandamus. And so the Silverthorn and this were focused around Myrmandamus trying to kill Arutha, Arutha outsmarting him, and now they're basically engaged in direct warfare with one another. As it turns out, Myrmandamus serves the Dragon Lords. Now, the Dragon Lords are this sort of mythic sub-god race of dragon riders who are basically like the old gods of this world. And Tomas, who is the other boy who is friends with Pug, who is the magician, Tomas inherited the armor of a dragon lord and basically became a dragon lord, and they're called Valheru. And he inherited the magic, and so he's half human, half Valheru. This story centers around Arutha, who is the son of Duke Boric, and now the prince of the Kingdom of the Isles, which is the primary kingdom in the book. And now they are getting ready to go to direct warfare with Myrmandamus, who serves the Dragon Lords, and the Dragon Lords are trying to come back to Midkemia, because apparently it was their original home, and they are trying to destroy everything to get back in. I'm gonna stay for a bit more. I can't keep my eyes open. That's alright, Caleb. You got to go to bed, you got to go to bed. Rest well. Alright, my friends, I think it is time for us to begin Storytime. I've only discovered his content 2 or 3 weeks ago. Well, we're glad to have you, Hippie. For everyone who is new, I am Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again I read you all a story. You have stumbled through a portal at the end of the world where all stories eventually come to rest, and then I pass them on to you. And you then bear them out into the world as lanterns, and the reason why you stumbled in here is because you sought a story. So, my friends, grab a seat, settle in. Storytime begins now. Quirt, hello, my friend. It's good to see you. Welcome in. Now, when we last left off, they discovered that there was a stone altar buried underneath the city of Sethanon. That stone altar is called the Stone of Life, and it was created by the Dragon Lords to essentially dominate the new gods that were coming into the world after chaos and creation, or chaos and order, died. Now, Sethanon is under siege by Myrmandamus and his forces, which are made up of dark elves, goblins, and trolls. Okay, hang on a second. Milo, hello love, good to see you. It's alright, we're just now starting, so you're okay. Give me just a second, friends. Sorry about that, friends. The boy was being very loud. Alright, let us begin. Chapter 19. Sethanon. It has all led to this. Ryan, hello, good to see you. Good evening, my friend. Good to see you as always. Always wonderful to have you, Ryan. Welcome. Grab your seat, settle in. And Nicholas and Herring, thank you for the drink. Herring, thank you for the 5 streams. I appreciate you for that. I am getting started. Yes, I promise. Suddenly, the city was under siege. Nothing had happened for a week after Arutha had secured the city. Then, the 8th day after the gates had been closed, guards reported Myrmandamus's army on the march. By midday, the city was surrounded by the elements of his advanced cavalry, and by nightfall, picket fires burned along every quarter of the horizon. Amos, Guy, and Arutha observed the invaders from their command post upon the southern Barbican. The main entrance to the city No, the main interest of the city. So Amos is a pirate who served Arutha. Guy is his distant cousin who they don't get along well, but they've become temporary allies for this story. And Arutha obviously is the prince of Rillanon, who is the son of Duke Boric. Alright, we'll continue. After a while, Guy said, "It'll be nothing fancy. He'll hit us from all sides at once. These piddling little walls won't hold. He'll be inside the city after the first or second wave unless we can think of something to slow him down. Defensive barriers we built will help, but only a little. We must depend upon the men," said Arutha. Well, those we brought. Gosh, sorry guys, my brain is still a little bit foggy from being sick, and I'm forgetting whose voice is what. I'll get it. Khan, hello. You said I graduated the program this past Friday and have at least 4 certifications, and at most 7 as I'm waiting to hear back. Spectacular news, Stephen. Good job. Good on you, my son. Well, those we brought south with us are a solid crew, observed Amos. Maybe these parade soldiers will pick fights up. Parade soldiers here will pick up a thing or two. That's why I spread the men out from High Castle out among the city garrison. Just maybe they'll prove the difference. Arutha didn't sound hopeful. Guy shook his head and then rested it on his arms against the wall. 1,200 seasoned men, including the walking wounded, returned to duty. 3,000 garrisons, some local militia, and a city watch. Most of them... most of whom have never seen anything more extreme than a tavern brawl. If 7,000 Emangarians couldn't hold from behind a 60-foot-high wall, what can this lot do? Arutha said, whatever they must. He said no more as he returned his attention to the fires across the plain. It's okay, Casa, we understand. Take it down. I appreciate you, friend. I learned a whole lot from the Barbie movie when my daughter was younger. Yeah, I just realized that it was up, Bear. I apologize. I forgot to turn it down. I have to retest for my NIMS inspector certifications. I have to wait 30 days for it. That timer just started on the 29th of January. That's all good. That whole tinnitus thing ringing in my ears. Yeah, no, that was the background noise. I apologize. I apologize. All right, back to it. The next day passed into night, and still Momandamas staged his army. Jimmy sat with Locklear upon a bale of hay near a catapult position. They and the squires of Lord Humphrey's court had been carrying buckets of sand and water to every siege engine along the entire city walls all day. Against the need to douse fires, they were all bowed and tired. Locklear watched the sea of torches and campfires. Outside of the wall. It somehow looks bigger than at Armengar. It's like we never hurt them at all. Jimmy nodded. Oh, we hurt them. They're closer, that's all. I overheard Dubas Tira saying they'll come in a rush. He was silent for a while and then said, Lockie, you've not said anything about Bronwyn. Locklear looked at the fires on the plains. What's to say? She's dead and I've cried. It's behind. It's no use dwelling on it. In a few days I might be dead too. Jimmy sighed as he leaned back against the inner wall, glimpsing the host around the city through the crenellation in the stone. Something joyous had died in his friend, something young and innocent, and Jimmy mourned its loss. And he wondered if he had ever had that young and innocent thing in himself. With dawn, the defenders were ready, poised to answer the attackers when they came. But, as he did at Armengar, Myrmandamus approached the city. Lines of soldiers carrying the banners of the confederations of clans marched out and then opened their line to let their supreme commander come to the fore. He rode a huge black stallion, equal in beauty to the white steed he had ridden last time. His helm was silver-trimmed, black, and he held a black sword. Little in his appearance offered a reassuring image, yet his words were soft. They carried to everyone in the city projected by Myrmandamus's arts. "Oh, children, oh, my children! Though some of you have already opposed me, yet I am ever ready to forgive. Open your gates, and I will offer a solemn vow. Any who wishes may quit and ride away, untroubled and unharried. Take whatever you desire, food, livestock, riches, and I'll offer no obstacle." He waved behind him, and dozens of Moradel warriors rode forward to sit behind. "I will even offer hostages. These are among my most loyal chieftains. They will ride in unarmed and unarmored, with you until you are safe within the walls of whatever city you wish. Only this I ask. You must open your gates to me. Sethanon must be mine." Upon the walls, the commanders observed this, and Amos muttered, "The royal pig lovers, certainly anxious to get in within the city. Damn me if I don't believe a word he says. I almost think we could all ride away, if we would only give him the bloody place." Arutha looked at Guy. "I almost believe him too. I've never heard of any Dark Brother offering hostages." Guy ran his hand over his face, his expression one of worry and fatigue, a tiredness born of long suffering, not simply lack of sleep. "There's something here he wants badly." Lord Humphrey said, "Highness, can we deal with this creature?" Arutha said, "It is your city, my Lord Baron, but it is my brother's kingdom. I'm sure he'd be quite short with us if we went about giving portions of it away. No, we'll not deal with him, as sweet as his words are. There's nothing about him that makes me believe he'd honor his vows. I think he'd willingly sacrifice those chieftains of his without a thought. He's never been bothered by any of his losses before. I've even come to think he would be welcome the blood and slaughter of them. No, Guy's right. He simply wants inside the walls as quickly as possible, and I would give a year's taxes to know what it is he's after." Amos said, "And I don't think those chieftains look happy about the offer either." Several Moradel leaders were exchanging hurried words with one another behind Myrmandamus's back. "I think things are rapidly becoming less harmonious among the Dark Brothers." "Let us hope," said Guy flatly. Myrmandamus's horse spun and danced nervously as he shouted, "What then is your answer?" Arutha stepped up on a box, so he might better be seen above the wall. "I say return to the north," he shouted. "You've invaded lands that hold no bounty for you. Even now armies are marching against you. Return to the north, before the passes are choked with snow, and you die from cold and a lonely death, far from your home." Myrmandamus's voice rose as he said, "Who speaks for the city?" There was a moment of silence, and then Arutha shouted, "I, Arutha Condoin, Prince of Crondor, heir to the throne of Rillanon. And then he added a title not officially his. Lord of the West. Myrmandamus shrieked in inhuman rage and something else, perhaps fear, and Jimmy nudged Amos, the former thief said, "That's Tawny. He's definitely not amused." Amos only grinned and patted the young man on the shoulder. From the ranks of Myrmandamus's army there arose a murmuring, as Amos said, "Sounds like his armies doesn't like it either. Omens that turn out false can't undermine a superstitious lot like these." Myrmandamus cried, "Liar! False prince! It is known the Prince of Grondor was slain. Why do you prevaricate? What is your purpose?" Arutha stood higher, his features clear to see. The chieftains rode about in milling circles, engaging in animated discussion. He moved his talisman given by the abbot at Sarth and held it forth. "By this talisman am I protected from your arts?" He handed it down to Jimmy. "Now you know the truth." Myrmandamus's constant companion, the Pantathian serpent priest Kathos, came forward at a shambling run. He tugged upon the stirrups of his master's saddle, pointing at Arutha and speaking at a furious rate in the hissing language of his people. With a shriek of rage, Myrmandamus kicked him away, knocking him to the ground, and Amos spat over the wall. "I think that convinced him." The chieftains looked angry and moved as a group towards Myrmandamus. He seemed to recognize the moment was slipping away from him. He spun his mount in full circle, the war horse's hooves striking the fallen serpent priest in the head, rendering him senseless. Myrmandamus ignored his fallen ally and the approaching chieftains. "Then, foul opposer," he cried towards the wall, "death comes to embrace you." He spun to face his army and pointed back at the city. "Attack!" The army was poised for assault and moved forward. The chieftains could not countermand the order. All they could do was ride at once to take charge of their clans. Slowly the horsemen moved up, behind the advancing elements of infantry, ready to rush the gates. Myrmandamus rode to his command position as the first ranks of goblins walked over the unconscious body of the serpent priest. It was not clear if the Pantathian had died from the horse's kick or not, but by the time the last rank had passed over, only a bloody carcass lay in a robe. Arutha raised his hand and held it poised, dropping it when the first rank came within catapult range. "Here," Jimmy said, handing back the talisman. "It might come in handy." Missiles struck the advancing host as they faltered, but continued forward. Soon they were running towards the walls while bowmen offered covering fire from behind the shield walls. Then the first rank hit the trenches, hidden by canvas and dirt, and fell upon the buried, fire-hardened sticks. Others threw shields upon their withering comrades and ran over their impaled bodies. The second and third ranks were decimated, but others came forward, and scaling ladders were placed against the walls, and the battle for Sethanon was joined. Mac had to shake a full bowl of food around so he'd eat it. Oh, he does character voices. I love it. I do my best. Sometimes I forget what the voices are, but yes. Guns during the parade as well, during the touchdown at home games. Berkey, hello, greetings, storyteller. I want you to know that your philosophic interpretations and what lessons you extract from the stories you tell have immense value. I enjoy hearing your critiques and commentary, hidden gems that would have otherwise been most likely missed by the common person. Thank you. Well, Berkey, I appreciate the compliment. I cannot take credit for them, as almost all of the stories that I tell come from a very long line of traditions from my grandfather and his family. but I am glad that you enjoy them, and it warms my heart to know that you appreciate them and that they fill you with whimsy and curiosity and all of the important things that stories ought do. Douglas, hello and welcome in. So very good to see you. Grab your seat, my friend. We are just beginning. I feel like I'm having a sleepover. Amazing vibes. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself, Hippie. All right, let's continue. The first wave swarmed up the ladders and were met with fire and steel by the defenders. The men of High Castle provided the leadership, an example that kept the inexperienced defenders of the city from being swept away. Amos, De La Troffel, Dumasigny, and Guy were linchpins for the defense of the city, always appearing when needed. For nearly an hour, the battle teetered as if poised upon the point of a dagger, with the attackers only barely able to gain foothold upon the battlements before they were thrown back. Still, as one rush was repulsed, another would be mounted from a different quarter. Soon it was apparent that all would hinge upon some chance of fate, for the two opposing forces were in equilibrium. Then a giant ram, fashioned with some dark glades of dim wood, was rolled forward. Toward the southern gate of the city, without a moat, there was only traps and trenches to slow its advance, and these were quickly covered with wooden planks laid over the bodies of the dead. It was a tree bowl easily 10 feet in diameter. It rolled on 6 giant wheels and was pulled by a dozen horsemen. A dozen giants pushed it from behind using long poles. The thing gathered speed as it rumbled towards the gate. Soon the horses were cantering and the riders peeled off, turning away from the answering hail of arrows. The sluggish giants were replaced with faster goblins whose primary task was to keep the thing on course and moving. It rolled towards the outer gate of the Barbican, and nothing the defenders could do would stop it. It struck the gate with a thunderous crash. The shattering of wood and protesting metal hinges tore with the walls, heralding a breach in the city's defenses. The gates were flung back into the Barbican, twisting as they fell under the wheels of the ram. The front end of the ram was lifted as it bounced off the tilting gates, momentum carrying it upward as it struck against the right wall of the Barbican. Suddenly, the invaders were provided with a clear entrance to the city. Up the tottering ram and leaning gates, the goblins swarmed, gaining the top of the Barbican, and suddenly the balance was tipped. Atop the Barbican, the defenders were forced back. The invaders reached a point above the inner gate as more goblins and Moradels swarmed up the accidental ramps. So the Moradel are the dark elves of this story. Petra, hello, welcome in. It's good to see you. I'm so glad you could join us. Arutha called the reinforcement company forward. They hurried to where the first goblins were dropping into the courtyard before the massive bar that held the inner gates. The fighting before the gates was fierce, but soon the goblin bowmen were driving the defenders away. Despite the fire directed at them from their parts of the wall, the bar was being hoisted when the shrieks and cries went up from the outside. The fighting slowed as those who engaged sensed something odd occurring. Then all eyes looked heavenward. Ooh! Descending from the sky was a dragon! Its scales glinting in the sun. Upon its back 3 figures could be seen. The giant animal swooped downward with an astonishing roar as if about to pounce upon the attackers, before the gates, and the goblins began to flee. Okay, so, for everyone who hasn't been here for the rest of the story, Arutha and Pug, who are childhood friends, not Arutha, Thomas and Pug, who are childhood friends in the court of Duke Boric. Thomas is the reincarnated Dragon Lord. Pug is the magician. Have been searching for an immortal sorcerer named Macross the Black. They found him in like a time away from time, very strange part of the story. But they found him, and now they're coming back to fight Momandamus on the back of a dragon. I didn't know if he was going to do this last minute thing, but he has, and they've just arrived on the back of a dragon. Leslie, thank you for the follow over on the TikTok portal. You've marked the tavern on your map. You should be able to find your way back the next time that you need a story. Still waiting. When did you redeem a rant? It'll have to be after we're done with the chapter, Stephen, but I'll get it to you. Hannah, hello. Hello, Tavern Master and everyone. Sorry I'm late. It's been a rough day. Glad I could come and enjoy a story. Throw your woes aside at the door, grab your seat and settle in. You're just in time for the best part of the story. Okay, let me see. Did I miss anything else? Oh, Glory of the Void. Good evening. Your shorts have been appearing more and more frequently in my timeline, and I find myself entranced by the lessons presented in them. Glad to be here for the story tonight. It's wonderful to have you, Glory. I'm glad that you could drop in, and I'm glad that the timeless stories of the tavern have found their way into your heart. It means the world to us. So grab your seat, settle in. We've only got a little bit left in the... Well, no, we've got quite a bit left in this chapter, actually. This chapter has a whole nother 20 pages, so settle in. Dragon to the rescue. Yes, I'm very excited. I'm back. I caught some bad people trespassing and dealing shady activities. Luckily, I got it all on my Ring camera. That's good, Esther. Glad that you took care of it. I hope you're all right. So, Hippie, I try to put out short story times every day. Although I was sick this week, so we missed a couple of days. And then we try to do a long story time at least every 2 weeks. That's long stories videos. And we do these live story times where you all can come in and we can chat in the tavern on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Tuesdays are more adult books, so Darkness of Sethanon is the more adult book. Thursdays are a family-friendly book. And you guys vote on all of these books. I don't pick them, the community does. And then Sundays is reading with the lovely lady of the tavern. Is it? That's not surprising. All right. We gotta see what happens. Usually, I try to start consistently, but we're usually starting around 6 to 7 o'clock. We will be moving upward, hopefully, to be around 4:30, 5 o'clock, is when we're trying to get story times to start. I'm very bad at managing my time through the day, so it's usually sometime between 5 and 7. That's terrible, and we're trying to get it narrowed down, but usually sometime between 5 and 7. We rarely miss. We do on occasion, but we rarely miss. Yes, Una's she is the loveliest. All right, let's continue. Riath is the dragon, spread her wings and swooped into a low glide above the heads of the attackers as Tomas waved his golden sword aloft. She trumpeted her battle cry, and the goblins beneath her broke and ran. Thomas looked about, seeking signs of Momandamus, but could see only a sea of horsemen and infantry in all directions. Then arrows began to speed past. Most were harmlessly bouncing off the dragon's scales, but the prince consort of Elvendar knew a well-placed shot could strike between overlapping plates or in the eye, and the dragon could be injured. He ordered Riath to enter the city. The dragon landed in the market some distance from the gate, but Arutha was already running towards them with Ghislaine behind. Pug and Tomas both leapt lightly down, while Macross was more sedate in his dismount. Arutha gripped Pug's hand. "It's good to see you again, and making so timely an entrance." Pug said, "We hurried. but we had delays upon the way. Tomas had been greeted by Ghislaine, and Arutha in turn clasping his hand, both of them obviously pleased to see each other alive. Then Arutha saw Macros. So you didn't die then? Macros said. Apparently not. It's good to see you again, Prince Arutha. More pleasant than you can imagine. Arutha looked at the signs of battle about him and considered the relative quiet. From distant quarters the sounds of battle carried, signifying only that the assault upon the gate had ceased. I don't know how long they'll wait before they rush the Barbican again. He glanced down the street towards the gate. You gave them a start, and I think Mermandamus is having trouble with some of the chieftains, but it's not enough to benefit us, I'm afraid, and I don't think I can hold them here. When they come again, they'll swarm over that ram. We can help, said Pog. No! All eyes turned to the sorcerer. Arutha said, Pug's magic could counter Mermandamus's. Has he used any spellcraft against you so far? Arutha thought. Why, no, not since Armengar. He won't. He must harbour it against the moment he has won the city, and the bloodshed and terror benefit his cause. There is something here he wants, and we must keep him from getting it. Arutha looked at Pug. What is happening here? A messenger came running towards them. Highness, the enemy masses for another attack on the gate, Macro said. Who is your second? Guy du Bastira. Pug looked startled at the news, but said nothing, and Macro said, Mermandamus will not use magic, except perhaps to destroy you if he can, Arutha. So you must turn command of the city over to du Bastira, and come with us. Where are we going? Someplace near here. If all else fails, it will be our cause to prevent the complete destruction of your nation. We must keep Mermandamus from his final goal. Arutha considered for a moment. He said to Ghislaine, Orders to du Bastira. He is to take command. Amos Trask is to assume his role as second in command. Where will your highness be? Asked the soldier next to the elf. Macros took Arutha by the arm. He'll be someplace where no one can reach him. If we are victorious, we shall meet again. He didn't bother saying what would happen if they were defeated. They hurried down the street, past the shuttered doors as the citizens huddled safely within their homes. One old boy looked out of a second-floor window just as Riath lumbered past, and with wide eyes slammed the window. The sounds of battle came from the walls as they rounded the corner into an alley. Macro spun to face the prince. What you see and what you hear, what you learn must always remain a trust. Beside yourself, only the king and your brother Martin may know the secrets you'll learn today, and your heirs, he added with a dry note. If any, swear. It was not a request. Arutha said, I swear. Macro said, Tomas, you must discover where the light stone lies, and Pug, you must take us there. Tomas looked about. It was ages ago. Nothing resembles. He closed his eyes, appearing to the others to be in some sort of trance state. Then he said, I feel it. Without opening his eyes, he said, Pug, can you take us there? He pointed down to the center of the city. He opened his eyes as it's below the entrance to the keep. Pug said, Come, join hands. Tomas looked toward the dragon, saying, You've done all you can. I thank you. Riath said, With thee I shall come. One more time. She regarded the sorcerer and then Tomas. With certainty. Do I know my fate? I must not seek to avoid it. Pug looked at his companions and said, What does she mean? Arutha's expression mirrored Pug's. Macros did not speak. Tomas said, You've not told us before. There is no need, friend Tomas. Macros interrupted. We can speak of this once we've reached our destination. Riath, once we have ceased moving, come to us. Tomas said. The chamber will be large enough. I shall. Oh, hang on. TikTok's trying to kick us off. Hang on. Just a moment. Alright. All fixed. I've seen Sabaton twice, same with Muse and Dragon. Sabaton puts on a hell of a live show. Alabama has a good live show too. TikTok loves to kick us off. They do it all the time. They just can't stand that somebody might be sitting there silently enjoying a story. Just ruiners of all of the fun. I've never been to a Dragon Force show, but I've been to a Muse show and a Sabaton show. And they put on a hell of a concert, that's for sure. Alright, where was I? Pug pushed his confusion aside and took Arutha's hand. And the other was joined by Tomas's and Makros's, completed the circle. They became insubstantial and began to move. They sank, and light was denied them for a time. Tomas directed Pug using mind speech, until after long minutes in the dark, Tomas spoke aloud. We are in an open area. With returning solidity, they all felt cold stone beneath their feet, and Pug created light about himself. Arutha looked up. They were in a gigantic chamber, easily 100 feet in every direction, with a ceiling twice that high. About them were rows, columns, and next to them stood an upraised dais. Then suddenly, with a blooming displacement of air, the dragon bulked above them. Riath said, It is near time. Arutha said, What does the dragon speak of? He had seen so many wonders over the last 2 years that the sight of a talking dragon was making no impression upon him. Fair enough. Tomas says, Riath, like all greater dragons, knows the time of her death. It is soon. The dragon spoke. While we fared between worlds, it was possible I would die, of causes removed from thee and thy friends. Now it is clear I must continue to play a part in this. For our destiny as a race is always tied with thine, Valheru. Tomas only nodded. Pug looked about the chamber, saying, Where is this laugh stone? Makros pointed to the dais. There, Pug said. There is nothing there. To ordinary appearance, said Tomas. He asked Makros, Where shall we wait? Makros was silent for a moment and then said, Each to his place. Pug and Arutha and I must wait here. You and Riath must go to another place. Tomas indicated understanding and used his arts to lift himself upon the dragon's back. Then, with a thunderous crash, they vanished. Arutha said, Where did he go? He is still here, answered Makros. But he is slightly out of phase with us in time, as is the Life Stone. He guards it, the last bastion of defense for this planet. For should we fail, then he alone will stand between Midkemia and her utter destruction. Arutha looked at Makros, then Pug. He moved towards the dais and sat. I think you'd better tell me some things. Yes, on YouTube, all of the past story times are up. So, and they will be labeled Darkness at Sethanon. So you can go back to the beginning of Darkness at Sethanon. You can actually go back all the way to the beginning of the Magician series and listen to it all the way through. Though I think when we started doing Magician, we were doing 2 books in a week, 2 books in a day. So it would be a little bit difficult to do that. But you could definitely go back to the beginning of Darkness at Sethanon and watch it all the way through. No, 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 no. There's no such thing as interrupting during story time. You guys are allowed to ask questions whenever you like, and I'm more than happy to answer them. Guys signaled, and a shower of missiles came down upon the heads of goblins rushing the gate. What's this? What? Thank you for now they are, yes. The on YouTube only. My whole job is interrupting him, making sure I catch everything. How are you and the lady doing today? We're doing wonderful. She's out of the house doing some client work today, but she'll be back probably in an hour or two. Quote, thank you kindly for the gifted subs over on the Twitch portal. You've given Ray Ray, Libra, Mathes, Mama Rednecks, and Chrome Cake subs. I appreciate you for that, my friend. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. You absolute legend. Thank you kindly. Alright, where was I? Guys signaled for a shower of missiles, and they came down upon the heads of goblins rushing the gate. 100 died in an instant, but the flood was unleashed, and Dubastirus shouted to Amos. Ready to quit the walls. I want skirmish order back to the keep. No rout. Any man who tries to run is to be killed by the sergeant in charge. Amos said, harsh, but he didn't argue the order. The garrison was on the verge of breaking, the untested soldiers close to panic. Only by frightening them more than the enemy could was there a shred of hope of maintaining an orderly retreat back to the keep. Amos glanced back as the population of the city fled towards the keep. Casey, thank you for the super chat over on YouTube. You guys are being far too generous this evening. Thank you kindly. Again, tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Thank you very much, my friend. That's very kind of you. Well, thank you for the resub, Esther. I appreciate you for it. Crystal, hello! Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. It didn't pop for me, but Twitch does tend to be temperamental. I'm on my computer today, not my phone. I have never seen the leaderboard. I talk too much. That's all right. Oh, it wouldn't be quite as taverny if we didn't all get chatty every now and again. And besides, somebody has to give Matty a run for his money, right? Any amount is more than is necessary. I appreciate you. Came across this live story reading. How many times do you read stories? I really enjoy your stories. Thank you for your story. Well, Debbie, it's my absolute pleasure. We put out short story times pretty much every day. These live ones where I read to you all from a book and then we talk about the story. We do these 3 times a week. I do them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesday is a more adult book. Thursday is something more family friendly. All of the books that we read are voted on by the community. I don't pick any of them. And then on Sunday, the Lady of the Tavern reads. Andy, hello! I've been seeing you in a lot of comments recently. Welcome in. Hello from Oklahoma. Oklahoma is underrated. American state. No such thing as being too generous. Well, thank you kindly, Glory. Thank you kindly. Thank you for the subscription over on the Twitch portal. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciate it. Anything extra than your time is an absolute blessing from me. Was just thinking that right before you said it, not much of a tavern if there is not good conversation with the stories. Absolutely the case, Cassie, absolutely the case. Again, none of you ever need to feel pressured to buy anything from us. or tip or subscribe. Do it if you can and if you want to, but there's never any pressure. I will still make stories even if I have to do it for free. And for the last 3 years, the lady and I pretty much have done it for free. So we are here to make stories for all of you. If we were in it for the money, we would have had to stop a long time ago. So trust me when I say that all we care about is your time and your enjoyment. Anything beyond that is a blessing, and we appreciate it. We need to chat, brother. I need some advice on platforms for the show. Recently got banned and can no longer do live shows on Facebook. Your best bets, depending on what you do, your best bets for doing live shows, if you don't want to get banned, Twitch is the best ones per se. But if you don't want to get banned, then Kick and Rumble are the best ones to not get banned on. I'm also awaiting a chance to play Necromancer Cheese selling Dragon Rock Couple. What? We need Castle for attention, not yelling at you. Yes, Bethany. What did I miss? Did I miss something? What did I miss? Oh, for a possible rant topic. Fire away. Topic for rant after reading: the recasting of Aragorn for Lord of the Rings, The Search for Gollum. Oh boy, that one could take us all night. But okay, all right, that's a good topic. That's a good topic. Leanne, good night. I have very much enjoyed my time here. I will be back soon. Leanne, again, we do this every Tuesday and Thursday with me, and then the Lady of the Tavern is on Sunday. We usually start sometime between 5 and 7 p.m. Again, it's not a super fixed schedule because I'm terrible time and I work too much. So I constantly lose track of time. But whenever we can have you back, we'll be glad for you to join us. Castle, have you seen the game Split Fiction? I laugh my butt off at it, but it's based on stories. I have seen it, I have never watched it played. So I am aware of it, but I haven't watched it played. Sinomi, hello, welcome in. Yes, you get my time and attention the best I'm able to, and I appreciate every second of it. Like I've said before, every minute that you watch of a video that we put out, especially if you're watching the longer ones, that helps us to be able to make more stories. And when you share them with other people who watch them, that helps us to make even more stories. And we can make them better and longer and more fun and more magical. So whatever you all are willing to give, whether it's time, attention, sharing us with your friends, it all means the world to us. And none of you have to do it. So we appreciate it. Elsie's dental cleaning is scheduled for next week. Just being mindful of expenses. It's quite all right, Esther. Again, no one has to ever worry about. Did you mute Sonomi? hang on. I'll unmute Sonomi. The Scorch Queen out of the game. It's all right. Gosh, those comments move fast. Yes, they do. Update on my training. Tomorrow, I get everything checked off by my manager, and then we schedule for my assessment. Hell yeah, Tyson. Glad to hear it. Coda, Boo, and Milo are all well. They're all doing exceptionally well. Milo is an absolute unit. He is growing without restraint. He's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's no stopping him. Sorry, I've been here listening, but repairing my washer and dryer. Only got a bit. Once it's all fixed and operational. No, that's all right. That's important. Got to be able to do your laundry. TikTok is rude. Driver, hello, welcome in. Thank you kindly for the heart me. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated, my friend. Milo the Tiger, yes indeed. Once we finish this chapter, I'll go grab him so you guys can see him. Because he's huge. And he's still growing. Hannah says, Split Fiction is amazing, I highly recommend it. I've seen it, but I don't actually know what it's about. So I don't have a whole lot of context for it. Also, I second the rant about recasting Aragorn after the reading. The way Milo is going, the lady might be able to ride him by the time he's full grown, that's true. Accidental muting. Gotta meet your quotas, alright? Alright, where was I? Amos glanced back at the population of the city as it fled towards the keep. They had been kept out of the streets so that the companies could move from section to section without impediment, but now they had been ordered to leave their homes. Amos hoped that they would be safely out of the way before the retreat from the walls began. Jimmy came running through the melee, evolving at the west, where Galen, Amos, and Guy stood, and he shouted, "De La Troval wants reinforcements. He's hard pressed upon the right flank." Guy said, "He'll have none. If I pull anyone from their own sections, it'll open a floodgate." He pointed to where the goblins had cleared the breach through the outer gate of the Barbican once more and were now climbing up the inner gate. The covering fire from the Mortadale archers was murderous. Jimmy began to leave and Guy grabbed him. "Another messenger is passing the word to quit the walls on signal. You'll not be able to reach him in time. Stay here." Jimmy signaled understanding, his sword at the ready, when suddenly a goblin appeared before him. He slashed out and the blue-skinned creature fell, only to be replaced by another. Tomas looked down. His friends had vanished, though he knew they were still in the same place, but slightly out of phase with him in time. Part of Ashen Shagord is the Dragon Lord who Tomas inherited his power. "Captain Ambrose, hello, good to see you, welcome in." Fingers crossed I stay awake, I can finally see Milo the tiger. Yes. The snake is also doing alright. He's just kind of a pet rock, but he's doing okay. Squeeze is quite alright. No, you're alright, baby. I'm just the chart is moving very quickly tonight. So if I miss something, feel free to repost it. And I'm trying to look up about every 10 minutes or so to make sure that I catch you guys. Alright, where was I? Part of Ashen Shagor's attempt to hide the gem had been to put the ancient city of Drakenkorin into a different frame of time. He looked across the vast hall where the Valheru had held their last council, then regarded the giant glowing green gem. He altered his perceptions and saw lines of power spreading outward, touching, he knew, every living thing on the planet. He considered the importance of what he was to do. He calmed himself. He felt the dragon's mood and acknowledged it. It was a willingness to accept whatever fate brought, but without a resignation to defeat. Death might come, but with it might also come victory. Tomas was somehow reassured by this thought. Arutha nodded. "You've told me it's important. Now tell me why." "It was left against the day the Valheru was returning. They understood that the gods were fashioned of the stuff of the world, a part of Midkemia. Drakenkorin was a genius among his race. He knew that the power of the gods depended upon the relationship they had with all other living things. The Life Stone is the most powerful artifact upon this world. If it is taken and used, it will drain all power from all creatures, down to the tiniest beings, giving that power to the user. It can be used to bring the Valheru into this space and time. It does so by providing a surge of energy so vast it cannot be equaled. And at the same time, it drains away every source of power for the gods. Unfortunately, it will also destroy all life upon this planet. In one instant, everything that walks, flies, swims, or crawls across Midkemia will die. Insects, fish, the plants that grow, even things too small to see." Arutha was astonished. "Then what will the Valheru have with a dead planet?" "Once back in this universe, they can war upon other worlds, bringing slaves, livestock, and plants, life in all forms, to reseed. They have no concern for the other beings here, just their own needs. It is truly a Valheru view of things. that all may be destroyed to protect their interests. Then Mermandamus and the invading Moradel will die as well, said Arutha, horrified at the scope of the plan. Makaros considered. That is one thing that puzzles me. For to utilize the Lifestone, the Valheru must have entrusted much lore to Mermandamus. It seems impossible that he doesn't know he will die when he opens the portal. The Pantathian serpent priests, I can understand. They have worked since the time of the Chaos Wars to bring back their lost mistress, the Emerald Lady of Serpents. They regarded as a goddess. They have become a death cult and believe that, with her return, they will achieve some sort of demigodhead for themselves. They embrace death. But this attitude is unlikely for a Moradel. So I don't understand Mermandamus' motives. Unless guarantees have been made, I don't know what they could be, as I don't know what this use of the dread can herald, for they will not perish with the others. And if the Valheru no longer wish them upon this world, as they reseed the planet, it will be difficult for the Valheru to rid themselves of the dread. The Dread Lords are powerful beings, and this makes me wonder at the possibility of a compact. Makaros sighed. There is still so much we don't know, and any one thing could prove our undoing. Oh my goodness, a pet snake named Squeeze is adorable. Yes, that is the lady's snake. She's had him for 20 odd years. And he literally is just a pet rock. Oh, we are... Okay, hang on, let me see. We've got about 15 pages left. So yeah, we'll take an ad break. We have to take another 3-minute ad break over on the Twitch portal, friends. Again, I apologize. Twitch makes us do it. But I appreciate all of you for sitting with us through it. So we're going to run that 3 minutes real quick, and then we will finish up this chapter. So we will be right back. We'll have a little chat while some folks are stuck in ads. I had a bit of a leg up for a while. I worked for Tower Records in my neck of the woods. Oh, are there any Tower Records left? I don't think I've seen a Tower Records in ages. I was going to remind you to hydrate, but you were a step ahead of me. Because I haven't been feeling well, I've been drinking so much water. It's basically I'm drinking like 90 to 100 ounces of water a day right now. Found where to change my screen name. No, you changed it. It's blue for me now. Oh, hello, my friend. Good to see you. Thank you for giving your time to do Storytime. Absolutely my pleasure. My family are actually, I come from a long line of traditional storytellers, and I'm a classically trained storyteller, and my wife is a traditional artist as well as a 3D modeler and artist, and she's absolutely wonderful. 15 pages left in the chapter. So we are almost done with the book. I think we have this chapter, and then we have one chapter left after this. Yeah, we have one chapter after this that's about 30 pages. So we'll have one more night with Darkness and Sethanon. I can't see it very well, Horse. It looks neat from here. It looks like it might be a hammer. But it's very tiny for me. It's like this big. Yes, she's had him for 20 years. He's an old man. Very old man. Do you enjoy stories and tales from all over? I do. I do, and we actually have, because it's the Chinese Lunar New Year, we have some stories coming out from Mongolia and China over the next 4 to 5 days. They were supposed to come out earlier with the Lunar New Year, but again I was sick, so I didn't get them done, which is my fault. I should have had the foresight. Cross pickaxe and sword with an anvil in front. That sounds very neat. I'll take a look at it when story time is done, and I can click on your profile. I will probably see the change later. Yeah, you're blue for me now, Bethany. This is the part where I slip off to bed. I love all of your faces. I hope you all rest well. Good night, dear Captain Hoodie. Rest well, and may you rise again tomorrow, ready to face the day. Kiss that lovely husband of yours for us, and tell the boys we love them. Well, I would presume that it was meant to represent your blacksmithery. That's an excellent thing to do. Cool. Happy Lunar New Year. Yes, we have all sorts of stories coming out from all over the world, as well as we're doing a long series on the Celtic clans, which is something I've been planning to do for a while. Or we're going to be doing a bunch of long story times, not live ones, but long story times, like 20-minute videos on the different Celtic clans and their folklores, and sort of separating them and separating the myth from the history from, and separating out the various cultures and what they believed and where they came from and so on. And then some of my own family stories, because my family are, again, a very old family of storytellers and story keepers with a tradition that is sort of unique to us. There are a bunch of families in my grandfather's family, but we have sort of a unique tradition amongst ourselves in story keeping and in the way we pass on festivals and traditions and whatnot. So we'll be doing a bunch of those over the course of the next couple of months, and yeah, I try because obviously we do a lot of stuff in Ireland and Western Europe and Scandinavia, because that's where my family are from. Is I come from Southern Ireland and Scandinavia. My family are from Norway. Um, and I live in America now. I've lived in America for a long time, so I try to do stories about the United States as well. But we also do stories from all over the world. We'll talk about Finland. We talked about the Rus Vikings, who are more from like the Slavic areas. We tell stories from the Bible. We tell stories from the Middle East. We tell stories from China and Japan and Korea. When K-pop Demon Hunters came out, we talked about a bunch of the lore in that film because it was very, very nicely done. How they put a bunch of little cultural tidbits all throughout this children's film, and I love stuff like that. I love when you sprinkle in bits of culture that aren't really meant to say anything. They're just kind of meant to nod to aspects of the culture. So I love to do that. I'd love to hear you tell about the giant skeletons from Japan that eat travelers at night, frightening and fascinating. It is a good story. I usually save the spooky ones for like the Halloween time, but I occasionally throw a scary one in here and there. It would not at the Halloween time. Who is the captain? I could hear someone in the background. I was nearly falling asleep. No, that's Everett in the background. Destiny, El Capitan is the captain. Our head barkeep. Awesome, I can't wait to hear that. I love Celtic culture. If you're not following the YouTube portal, that's where all the long story times come out. So if you are looking forward to the longer story times that are more structured and that I'm able to put a little bit more effort into. Yes, Miora do it, Mark. Good to see you, my friend. Awesome, I can't wait to hear. I already read that one. I love hearing about Ireland and Norway. I am partial to them myself as well. I love the videos you do about culture. I've learned a couple of things from you. Oh, good. I'm glad. I have lots of Iceland stories. I also have family from Iceland. Well, I have family who is from Iceland and who live in Iceland. But it's hard to have Scandinavian stories without Icelandic stories, because a lot of the old Scandinavian stories were really only written down by the Icelanders. So most of what we have that is Norse myth actually come from the Icelanders. I really appreciate the breadth of stories. Most people I know only take from one book or another, which it's the reason why people do that is because the algorithm gods who control these portals that I make stories for you through. If you focus down hard on something, it's really easy to grow. The lady and I have been doing this for 5.5 years, and it's only been in the last year that we've really started making any money at it, because we don't really sell anything. We have like t-shirts, and we have my festivals book. We don't really make any money off of the festivals book, because we sell it for as cheap as we possibly can. We make $1, I think, off of each one that sells. And then we have like tankards and some other little things in the tavern shop. But we don't really sell anything, and we don't push Patreon or anything like that. We don't push. We have them, but we don't push them. They're available if people want to support, but we don't push them out. And we've really focused on just making sure that people have a place where they can come and enjoy stories, free of drama, free of all of the other things. Like, you can get drama and conflict and bickering and fighting. You can get that anywhere on the internet. People would give that in droves. This is a place that is just about stories. All of the dramas, the dogmas, the doctrines, they all get left at the door, and in here we are all story keepers and storytellers enjoying stories. That is the biggest rule of the tavern, is that if you're here to enjoy stories, and you're not to ruin it for anybody else. This is a place of relaxation, to escape from the problems of the outside for a bit, not to pretend like they don't exist, but just so that you can have some time to enjoy a story. And we could have just focused on one thing, because I could have really focused down hard on, say, Irish mythology, and we could have grown very quickly, but I didn't want to do that. I want to tell you guys stories from all over the world and show you how alike we are, and show you the common human thread between all of us that is storytelling. Storytelling is so important. Storytelling has so much in it that binds us together as a species, and I think that is so much more important than growing quickly or making money or anything of the like. So while I do focus mostly, like, it's probably 70% on Western Europe and the Celts and the Scandinavians, because that's where my blood and that's where most of my family's organic stories come from. I also like to tell stories from all over the world, because my grandfather and his family have been collecting stories from all over the world for hundreds of years, and we have huge stores that we hand down from generation to generation. And I think it's a shame to only ever learn about your own culture when you can see the common threads between everybody. At least that's me. That's how our family looks at things. I love the little story lessons I see on Facebook. That's how I found Black Dragon Tavern. I'm glad. That means the world to me. That means the world to me. Buy the book, it is good. Yeah, it's not really a book. The regulars call it a book. It's sort of just a handbook. And it goes over how my family celebrates the festivals of the year, gives a little bit of lore and like some more common aspects of them. And we'll be giving away a few of these physical ones during the readathon. We usually give away a couple during readathons. Save the drama for your mama. Right, Tyson. Ashley Cornish, hello, good to see you. I love the way you incorporate everyone culture-wise. Yeah, I think it's important. I do. Yes, it's a sweet escape from the harsh realities of this world, and I try to keep it that way. I try to keep it that way. I think it's important that we have neutral spaces, and I don't mean neutral as in not taking a side. I mean a place where you can just come and not have to worry about sides and worry about being correct or wrong or anything. We'll talk about things. We'll talk about philosophy. We talk about history. We talk about politics, but we talk about them in the context of stories. And I don't believe in teaching people what to think. It's like, I can come in here and say, fire is hot. It'll burn you. Don't touch fire. Right? I can come in and tell you all that. Or I can come in and tell you a story about a man who touched fire and was burned. And then I can leave it up to you as a discerning adult to figure out whether or not fire is hot and whether or not it should be touched. I don't need to condescend to you all and tell you exactly what the moral of every story is. All my job is to relay stories. I am a storyteller. I'm not a priest. I'm not a politician. I'm not some. I don't know. I'm not anything but a storyteller. I meant in real life, my mother was a pastor and she was incredibly broad in her teachings, but had to always tell them from one perspective to be heard. Well, and again, like you are rewarded for doing that on social media. I don't like to do that. So we've always taken the position that we'll just tell stories from all over, like my family has done for hundreds of years, and if people align with it, then they do, and if they don't, then they don't. We'll see how it is. I can tell you've gotten more comfortable over the last hour. The tone of your voice doesn't sound as stiff. I'm not as dizzy after reading for a little bit. Every community has wisdom to share. Yeah, and I bring this up often. You can separate people's virtues from their failings. Like, just because someone is a terrible person doesn't mean they can't have said something wise. You can respect the strength it takes, like Genghis Khan. I put out a story time on Genghis Khan recently, and I've got a few messages and a few comments about how he was a terrible person. And I just tell them, look, it's not my job to moralize Genghis Khan. It's not my job to tell you whether or not Genghis Khan was a bad guy. I'll tell you his story, and you can decide from there whether or not what he did was good or bad. But I think we can all appreciate the strength and savviness and brutality that it took for Genghis Khan to do what he did. We can respect the strength that it took without respecting what he did with it, right? It is we are complex enough creatures and also simple enough creatures that we can do that, and it's fine. You can learn from the virtues of bad men just as you can learn from the failings of good men. Right. You can learn good wisdom is always good is one of my favorite isms of our family because you will always have wisdom from the things of other people. Crom, hello, welcome in. You are a teacher if you are a storyteller. I would never claim as much, but I appreciate the title. I don't know if I'm qualified to be anybody's teacher, but I will tell stories, and if people learn from them, then I will certainly be glad of it. Okay, ads are over. Guys, can I beg just a moment of time? My brother is overseas right now. He just called me. Give me just a minute to talk to him. Take a 5 minute break, and then we'll finish up the chapter. I need to call him back real quick and see how long he has before he has to be off to bed or off to work. So give me just a moment. I am on mute. Game Stray Brothers, good to see you. I'll be back in just a minute. Just a minute. Good night, hippie. It was wonderful to have you. I will be back. I'm just my brother called me. He's it's late where he is. And I haven't talked to him in a bit. I will be back on in just a couple of minutes. Thank you, Douglas. I appreciate you guys. Well, I'm almost done. I'll be right back on. Smokey Air, good to see you, my friend. So wild, my brother is also sick. Hope everyone is doing good and is enjoying their week so far. Almost halfway through. Almost halfway through. We're getting to the middle. Santana, hello, my friend. Welcome in. And yes, I apologize. My little brother called me. He's overseas on work right now, and I've only gotten to talk to him like 3 times in the last 2 months. Santana, thank you for the resub, my friend. And Arthur Christie raiding in for the first time when my head is up. Alright, if you've never been in here, we get raided over on the Twitch portal sometimes. Folks bring their audiences in to have a finished evening in the tavern. And we give them a toot on the raid horn. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Viking raspberries, if you will. Arthur Christie, thank you so much for joining us. Let's get you a shout out real quick. So very glad that you could join us. What a great toot. I do my best. I do my best. What were you all up to? And again, if you need to run off and go get rest, absolutely go and do so. I appreciate you bringing the badgers in. Stephen Staff, welcome, my friend. So very glad you could join us. We've only got about an hour left in story time tonight, so if you are inclined to stay with us for the evening, for anyone who is new, I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. Every now and again, I read you all a bedtime story. Tonight, we are reading from Raymond E. Feist at Darkness at Sethanon. This is the 4th book in the series, and we are fast approaching the end. And you all have stumbled in here because you sought a story. And this is a place at the end of all worlds where all stories eventually come to rest. And we're glad to have you. So grab a seat, settle in. I'm going to get right back into story time because I know many folks are getting ready for bed. And I would hate for any of you to miss the end of this absolutely intense chapter. So let's get back into it immediately. Here we go. Okay, they were talking about how Mermandamus must have something to keep him from being killed. Oh, the Dreadlords. And any one thing could prove our undoing, Arutha said. In all this, there is still one thing I don't understand. This Mermandamus is an archmage of some sort. If he needs to come here, why not shape change, sneak into Sethanon, looking like any human, and come here unnoticed? Why this marching of armies and wholesale destruction? Macros said, It is the nature of the lifestone, to reach its proper frame of reference in time, and to open the gate, to admit the Valheru, require an enormous mystic power. Mermandamus feeds off death. Arutha nodded, remembering a comment Mermandamus had made when he had first confronted Arutha through the dead body of one of his Nighthawks back in Krondor. He sucks energy from each near death. Thousands have died in his service and opposing him. Had he no need to harbor those energies to open the gateway, he could have blown down the walls of this city like things of sticks. Even such a small matter as keeping his barrier up against personal injury costs him valuable energies. No, he needs his war to bring back the Valheru. He would gladly see his entire army, to the last soldier, die, just so long as he can reach this chamber. Now we must seek to block his master's entrance back into this universe. He stood up. Arutha, you must remain vigilant against the mundane attack. He came to Pog and said, We must aid him, for his foe will prove mighty. Most surely Mermandamus will come to this room. Pug took Macros's hand and watched as the sorcerer reached out and gripped the Ashapian talisman. Arutha nodded, and Macros took it from the prince. Macros closed his eyes, and Pug felt powers within himself being manipulated by another, a feat again new and startling to him. Whatever skills he had were still nothing to Macros's. And again, Macros the Black is an absolutely incredible immortal mage. Have a good night, everyone. Time for me to fly. Good night, Molly. Rest well. We only have a few pages left if you want to have things on in the background. But if not, good night, and we will see you back again. Come to Thursday. Then Arutha and Pug watched as the talisman began to glow. Macros said softly, "There is power here." He opened his eyes. "Hold out your sword." Arutha did so, hilt first. Macros released Pug's hand and carefully placed the talisman below the hilt so that the tiny hammer lay next to the fort of the blade. He then gently closed his hand around the blade and hammer. "Pug, I have the skill, but I need your strength." Pug took Macros's hand, and the sorcerer again used the younger mage's magic to augment his own diminished powers. Macros's hand began to glow with a warm yellow-orange light, and all heard a sizzling sound while smoke came off the sorcerer's hand. Arutha could feel the blade warm to the touch. After a few moments, the glow vanished, and Macros's hand opened. Arutha looked at the blade. The talisman had been somehow embedded into the steel, now appearing only as hammer-shaped etching in the fort. The prince looked up at Macros and Pug. "That blade now holds the power of the talisman. It will guard you from all attacks from mystic sources. It will also wound and kill creatures of dark summoning, piercing even Mermandamus's protective spells. But its power is limited to the strength and will within the man who holds it. Falter in your resolve, and you will fall. Remain steadfast, and you shall prevail. Always remember that. Come, Pug, we must ready ourselves." Arutha watched as the two sorcerers, one ancient and robed in brown, and one young and wearing the black robes of a Surani Great One, stood facing each other, next to the dais. They joined hands and closed their eyes. A disquieting silence fell over the chamber. After a minute, Arutha pulled his attention from the two magic users and began inspecting his surroundings. The chamber seemed empty of any artifacts or decoration. One small door, waist high in the wall, seemed the only means of entrance. He pulled it open, and glancing in, seeing a hoard of gold and gems lying in the next chamber, he laughed to himself. Ancient treasure, riches of the Aheru, and he'd trade it all to have Liam's army on the horizon. After a moment of poking about the treasure, he settled in to wait. He absently tossed and caught a ruby the size of a plum, wishing he knew how his comrades above were faring in the battle for Sethanon. "Now!" shouted Guy, and the company directly under his command began to fall back from the barbican, while behind them the trumpeters sounded the call to withdraw. In every quarter of the city the call was answered, and it was coordinated as a retreat as possible. The walls were surrendered to the attackers. Rapidly the defenders fell back, gaining the cover of the first block of houses beyond the bailey, for the Moradel archers upon the wall began taking a heavy toll. Companies of Sethanon archers waited to offer answering fire over the heads of the retreating skirmishers, but it was only through exceptional bravery that a total rout was avoided. Guy pulled Jimmy and Amos along, watching over his shoulder while his squad fell back to new positions. Ghislaine and 3 other archers offered covering fire. As the front rank of attackers reached the first major intersection, a company of riders erupted from the side street. Sethanon cavalry, under the command of Lord Humphrey, rode among the goblins and trolls, trampling them underfoot. In a few minutes, the attackers were being slaughtered and began withdrawing the way they had come. Guy waved to Humphrey, who rode over. "Shall we hurry them, Guy?" "No! They'll regroup shortly. Order your men to ride the perimeter. Cover where necessary, but everyone is to fall back to the keep as quickly as possible. Don't do anything too heroic." The Baron acknowledged his orders, and Guy said, "Humphreys, tell your man they did well. Very well." The stout little Baron seemed to perk up and saluted smartly, riding off to take command of his cavalry. Amos said, "That little squirrel's got teeth." "He's a braver man than he looks," answered Guy. He quickly surveyed his position, signalled his men back, and in a moment they were all running towards the keep. When they reached the inner bailey of the city, they ran towards the keep. The outer fence was a decorative thing of iron bars, which would be torn down in moments, but the inner ancient fortress still looked difficult to attack. Guy hoped so. They gained the first parapet overlooking the battle, and Guy sent Ghislaine to see if his commanders had reached the keep. When the elf had gone, he said, "Now, if I could only know where Arutha has vanished to." Jimmy wondered as well, and he also wondered where Locklear was. Locklear hugged the wall, waiting until the troll turned back to him. At the sound of a scream, the girl was no more than 16, and the other two children considerably younger. The troll reached for the girl, and Locklear leapt out and ran him through from behind. Without saying anything, he reached out and grabbed the girl's wrist, tugging, and she followed, leading the other two children. They hurried towards the keep, but the squire halted when a squad of horsemen driven backwards across their path. Locklear saw that Baron Humphrey was the last man to quit the fray. The Baron's horse stumbled, and goblin hands reached up and pulled Humphrey from the saddle. The stout little ruler of Sethanon lashed out with his sword, cutting down two of his assailants before finally being overwhelmed by the goblins he faced. Locklear pulled the frightened girl and her companions into an abandoned inn. Once inside, he searched until he spied a trapdoor into the cellar. He opened it and said, "Quick, in here, be silent." The children obeyed, and he followed after. He felt around in the dark and found a lamp, with steel and flint next to it, and in a short moment he had a light burning. He glanced around while the sounds of fighting filtered down from the streets above. He pointed towards a large pair of barrels, and the children hurried over the crouch between them. He pushed on another barrel and rolled it slowly before the others, creating a small place to hide. He took his sword and the lamp and climbed over to sit with the others. "What were you doing running down in the street?" he asked in a harsh whisper. "Oh, mine chest, hello and welcome in. Welcome to the tavern. Grab a seat. We're very glad that you could join us, as our barkeeper there, Frost, has said. Eistus Stout, you said, "I've just discovered this channel and I'm instantly hooked." Is it Eistus? 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 Mr. Stout, hello and welcome in, my friend. So very glad that you could join us. For the new folks who are just dropping in, I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. The art of storytelling lives within these walls, and every now and again I read you all a story. Tonight we are reading A Darkness at Sethanon by Raymond D. Feist. Close to the end, you're coming in at the climax. You've stumbled into a tavern at the end of the world where all stories eventually come to rest, and you found yourself here because you sought a story. So settle in, get to know some of the regulars, and they will absolutely make sure you feel welcome. Oh, mind just your reading is me. Oh, thank you kindly. I'm glad you're enjoying. I keep them around. They're pretty great. I'll keep some of them. Holy Jesus, my brother, good to see you. Rockhound, good to see you, my friend. So very good. So very glad you could join us. All right, we've got 10 pages left in this chapter, so let's power through it. Wet the whistle here real quick. And for those of you who are new, we also put out short story times every single day, at least we try to. And occasionally we'll do a longer story as well. Yes, Hannah is fairly new as well. We've had quite a few new folks drop in tonight. It's been a busy night for the tavern. We love to see new faces that quickly become old regulars. Once you're in, it's hard to get out. All right, where was it?
What were you doing down in the city streets?
He asked in a hard whisper.
The order for non-combatants to leave came a half an hour ago.
The girl looked frightened but spoke calmly.
My mother hid us in a cellar.
Locklear looked incredulous.
Why?
The girl regarded him with a mixed expression and said,
Soldiers.
Locklear swore. A mother's concern over her daughter's virtue would cost all three her children their lives. He said,
Well, I hope she prefers you dead to dishonoured.
The girl stiffened.
She's dead. The trolls killed her. She fought them while we ran.
Locklear shook his head, wiping his dripping forehead with the back of his hand.
Sorry.
He studied her for a moment, then recognized that she was indeed pretty.
I really am sorry.
He was silent, then added,
I've lost someone too.
A thump on the floor above, and the girl stiffened more. Fear making her eyes enormous, but she bit back the back of her hand to keep from screaming. The two smaller children clung to each other, and Locklear whispered,
Don't make a sound.
He put his arm about the girl and blew out the lamp, and the cellar plunged into darkness. Guy ordered the inner gate to keep closed and watched as those too slow to reach it safely were cut down by the advancing horde. Archers fired from the battlements, and anything that could be hurled at the attackers was thrown. Boiling water and oil, stones and heavy furniture. As the last desperate attempt to resist the onslaught began, then a shout went up from the rear of the invading army, and Myrmandamus came riding forward, trampling his own soldiers as often as not. Amos waited beside Guy and Jimmy, ready for the first scaling ladders to be brought forward. He looked at the frantically scurrying Moradel leaders and said,
This dung-eaters still seems a hurry, doesn't he? He's a bit rough on the lads who happen to be in his way.
Guy shouted, Archers! There's your target! And a storm of arrows descended on the broad-shouldered Moradel. With a scream, the horse was down and the rider fell and rolled. He leapt to his feet unharmed and pointed towards the keep doors. A dozen goblins and Moradel raced forward to die under bowfire. Most bowmen concentrated upon the Moradel leader, but none could harm him. The arrows would harmlessly strike some invisible barrier and bounce off. The ram was carried forward while dozens of invaders died. It at last reached the doors and was brought to bear. Moradel archers kept defenders down while the rhythmic pounding began. Guy sat with his back to the stones, as flight after flight of Moradel arrows sped overhead. Squire, he said to Jimmy, hurry downstairs. See if De La Trovo has his company together. Order him to be ready at the inner door. I think we've less than 10 minutes before they're inside. Jimmy hurried off, and Guy said to Amos, Well, you pirate, it looks like we gave him a good gun, a good run. Hunkering down beside Guy, Amos nodded.
The best, all things considered. We did all right. A little more luck here and there, and we'd have had his guts on a stick,
Amos sighed.
Still, there's no use in dwelling on the past, I always say. Come along. Let's go bleed us some of these miserable land rats.
He leapt to his feet and grabbed the throat of a goblin who had just cleared the wall. The creatures had not seen any defenders, and suddenly there was Amos, seizing him by the throat. With a jerk, he crushed the creature's windpipe and cast him back down the ladder, dislodging 3 more who were right behind him. Amos pushed the ladder away and slashed his sword at another. Those who climbed through a crenel beside Amos. Amos stiffened and gasped, and, looking down, discovered an arrow in his side.
Damn me!
He said, apparently astonished by the fact. Then a goblin breasted the wall and struck out with his sword, the impact nearly spinning Amos around. The former sea captain's knees buckled and he fell hard on the stones. Guy cut the goblin's head from his shoulders with a savage blow, and he knelt next to Amos and said, "I told you to keep your head down." Amos smiled up at him.
Next time I'll listen,
he said weakly, and then he closed his eyes. Guy whirled as another goblin came over the wall, and with an upward thrust he gutted the creature. The protector of Armengar, former Duke of Bastira, slashed right and left, bringing death to any goblin, troll, or Moradel who came close to him. But the outer wall of the keep was breached, and more invaders swarmed over, and Guy saw himself being slowly surrounded. Others on the wall heard for the call for retreat, and hurried down the stairs to stand within the great hall. But Guy stood over his fallen friend with sword ready, not moving. Mermandamus walked over the bodies of his own soldiers, ignoring the cries of the dying and wounded around him. He entered the barbican of the keep, passing the shuttered outer doors. With a curt motion of his hand, he ordered his soldiers forward, with the ram to begin assault upon the inner door. He moved to one side while they began beating upon the door, their comrades seeking to rid the walls of Sethanon archers. For an instant, all within the killing ground of the barbican were intent upon the splintering door, and Mermandamus stepped back into the shadows, silently laughing at the folly of other creatures. With each death he had gained power, and now he was ready. A Moradel chieftain ran into the killing ground seeking his master. He brought word of battle in the city. Fighting over spoils had broken out between the 2 rival clans, and while they had been distracted, a pocket of defenders had escaped certain annihilation. The master's presence was required to keep order. He grabbed one of his underlings and asked Mermandamus' whereabouts. The goblin pointed, and the chieftain shoved the creature away. For the dark corner he indicated was empty. The goblin ran forward to work upon the ram, but another soldier had fallen to arrows from above, but the Moradel chieftain continued to look for his master. He asked about, and all said that Mermandamus had vanished. Cursing all omens, prophecies, and heralds of destruction, the chieftain hurried back towards the section of the city where his own clan battled. New orders were about to be given. It's gonna be really strange if Amos and Guy survive after this. There's always a chance. There's always a chance, but it's gonna be very strange if they survive. Pug heard Macros's words in his mind.
They are trying to break through.
Pug and Macros's minds were linked. With a rapport beyond anything Pug had experienced in his life, he knew the sorcerer, he understood him. He was one with Macros. He remembered things from the sorcerer's long history, foreign lands with alien people, histories of worlds far distant. All was his. And so was the knowledge. With his mystic eye, he could see the place they would attempt to enter. It existed between the physical world and the place where Tomas waited, a seam between one time frame and another. And something like sound was building. Something he could not hear, but could feel. A pressure was rising as those who sought to enter this world began their final assault. Arutha tensed. One moment he had been watching Pug and Macros standing like statues, Then suddenly another moved in the vast hall. From out of the shadows came a giant Moradil, his face a thing of beauty and horror as he removed his black dragon helm from his sweating brow. Bare of armor, his chest revealed the dragon birthmark of his heritage, and in his hand he held a black sword. He fixed his eyes upon Macros and Pug and moved towards them. Arutha stepped out from behind a pillar, standing between Mamandamus and the two motionless mages. He held his sword at the ready.
Now, baby killer, you have your chance,
he said. Mamandamus faltered, his eyes growing wide.
How?
He grinned.
I think the fates, Lord of the West, you are now mine.
He pointed his finger and a silver bolt of energy shot forward. But it was warped to strike the blade of Arutha's sword, where it danced like incandescent fire. Pulsing with white-hot fury, Arutha flicked his wrist, and the point of the blade touched the stone floor, and the fire winked out. The Moradil's eyes again widened, and with a shriek of rage he leapt towards Arutha.
I will not be denied.
Arutha narrowly avoided a blow of stunning savagery, which caused blue sparks to leap when the black blade struck the stones. But he was moved back. His own sword flicked out and cut the Moradil upon the arm. Mamandamus shrieked as if some grave injury had been done, and staggered back a moment. He righted himself as Arutha followed the blow with another, and was able to parry the prince's second thrust. With a look of madness, Mamandamus clutched the wound, then regarded the crimson wetness upon his palm. The Moradil said,
It is not possible!
With cat-like quickness, Arutha lashed out, and another cut appeared upon the Moradil, this one across his bare chest. Arutha smiled a smile without humour, one as savage as the Moradil's had been.
It is possible, scion of madness,
he said with studied purpose.
I am the Lord of the West. I am the bane of darkness. I am your destruction, slave of the Valheru.
Mamandamus roared in rage, the sound of a vanished age of insanity returning into the world, and launched his attack. Arutha stood his ground, and they began to duel in earnest.
Hug!
Anna. They moved in concert, weaving a pattern of power, erecting a lattice of energies against the intruder. It was not so mighty a work as that used to close off the great rift at the time of the Golden Bridge, but then this rift hadn't been opened yet. But there was a pressure, and they were being tested. The pounding of the door continued as the wood began to splinter. Then came the sound of distant thunder, growing louder. The pounding on the door halted for a moment, then resumed. Twice more the booming sounded as if coming closer, as the sounds of fighting seemed to be increasing. Then from outside came unexpected cries, and the pounding ram on the door ceased. Then an explosion rocked the hall. Jimmy leapt forward. He pulled aside the slide that covered the peephole, and then yelled back to De La Trovel.
Open the door!
The commander of the company signed his men forward as the sound of the fighting reached his ears, and it took the strength of most of the men to move the half-detached door. Then they heaved, and it opened, and De La Trovel and Jimmy raced through. In the streets before them, men in brightly coloured armour ran through the streets, battling Moradil and goblins on every hand. Jimmy shouted,
Suroni! By damned, it's an army of Suroni! Can it really be?
said De La Trovel.
I've heard enough stories from the Duke of Lori to know what they're supposed to look like. Little fellows, but tough, all in bright-coloured armour.
A squad of goblins turned before the keep, retreating from a larger company of Suroni, and De La Trovel led. lost my place, led his own men out, taking them in the rear. Jimmy hurried past and heard another loud explosion down a broad avenue. They could see a black-robed magician standing before a smoking pile of barrels and an overturned wagon that had been used as a breastwork. The magician began conjuring, and within a moment there flowed from his hands a heavy rolling ball of energy that struck some target beyond Jimmy's line of sight, exploding in the distance. Then a company of horsemen came galloping into view, and Jimmy recognized the banner of Landerith. Riding alongside came Coogan, Meacham, and two black-robed magicians. Black-robed is significant because these were the big magicians on the planet of Kelowon, which was the primary secondary setting for the first two books. Again, not big. Corey, brother, why are there barely any Ossetru heathens left? It's a good question. I will answer you once we are finished, Corey, if you don't mind. Where was I? The company of horsemen came galloping into view, and Jimmy recognized... Oh, I already read that.
Have we arrived in time?
Asked Hojo Pepper. Jimmy had never met the black-robed man, but given his arrival with Corgan, Jimmy assumed he had some authority.
I don't know. A Ruther vanished some hours ago with Pug, Macros, Tomos, and a dragon. If you can believe Ghislaine's report to Dubastira, Guy and Amos Trask are here somewhere.
He pointed towards the fighting in the distance and said,
Dumasny. And the others are over there somewhere, I think.
And he looked around, his eyes wide with terror and exhaustion. His voice began to sound thick, with emotions held too long in check, rising with a near-frantic note.
I don't know who's left alive.
Corgan put his hand on Jimmy's shoulder, realizing the boy was close to collapse.
Oh, it's all right,
he said, looking at Hojo Pepper and Elgahar, and said,
You better get inside. I don't think the battle is truly over yet.
Jimmy said,
Where are all the Dark Brothers? There were thousands around here only a few minutes ago.
Corgan led the boy away while the two black-robed magicians ordered a squad of Suronic soldiers to accompany them into the keep, where the sounds of fighting could still be heard. To Jimmy, the green-robed magician said,
10 magicians of the assembly came with us, and the Emperor sent part of his army. So much did they fear the appearance of the enemy upon this world, we created a gate between Portal on Stardock and a place less than a mile from the city, but out of sight of Mermandamus's army. We marched 3,000 Suroni here, along with 1,500 horses from Landalith and Shamata, and more are coming.
Jimmy said,
3,000, 1,500. They run from that.
Corgan said next to him,
And black robes, whose magic they cannot oppose. And news that Martin is upon the plain with the army from Yabon, 4,000 strong. Less than an hour away in the northwest. And I'm sure their scouts saw the dust from the southwest, where soldiers from Dartmoor are marching beside those from Malek's Cross, followed by Godon's regiment from Crondor. And all who can see the banners of the North Warden to the east. To the northeast and in the east the king comes with his army. 1 or 2 days away at most. They are surrounded, Jimmy, and they know it.
Corgan's voice turned thoughtful.
And something has already disturbed them. For even as we approached, we saw bands of Dark Brothers quitting the city, fleeing for the dim woods. At least 3,000 or 4,000 seem to have already abandoned the attack. And many of those between the gate and here were not organized, and some even seem to be falling out among themselves, with one band fighting another. Something has happened to blunt the attack at the moment of victory.
Dimples, hello, good to see you, welcome in. I hope you and Digger are all right. What are you whining about over there? Where was I? Then came into view a detachment of Keshian dog soldiers, running rapidly towards the sound of battle. Jimmy looked at the magician and began to laugh as tears started to run down his cheeks. I guess that means Hazara Khan's come to play too. Kogan smiled.
He happened to be camped near Shimata. He claims it was a coincidence. He was having dinner with the governor of Shimata when Katala's message to come to start up with the garrison arrived. And of course, the fact that he convinced the governor to let him bring along some observers and that his people were ready to march within an hour is also a coincidence.
How many observers?
500, all armed to the teeth.
Abruth is gonna die an unhappy man if he can't get Abdul to admit there's an Imperial Intelligence Corps, Kogan said.
But what I can't fathom is, how does he know what's going on at Stardock?
Jimmy laughed, a genuinely amused laugh. He sniffed as his nose began to run, and he smiled. You must be joking. Half your magicians are Keshi. He sighed and sat back. But there must be more to it, mustn't there? He closed his eyes and tears of fatigue again ran down his face. You have to remember, Jimmy is like 15, 16 years old. And this is his third war in his many years. This is the third war that he's been in since he was 11. Kogan said,
We still haven't found Mamandamus.
Kogan looked to where the Serrani soldiers ran down the streets.
Until we do, it's not over.
Arutha ducked a savage slashing backhand blow and thrust in return, but the Moradel jumped backwards. Arutha's breath came with difficulty, for this was the most cunning and dangerous opponent he had ever faced. He was incredibly strong and only slightly slower than Arutha. Mamandamas bled from half a dozen minor wounds, cuts, which could have weakened a normal opponent, but which seemed to bother him only a little. Arutha gained no advantage, for the battle and this duel were bringing him to the edge of exhaustion. It took all the prince's skill and speed to stay alive. He had a limit on his ability to fight, for he had to keep himself between Mamandamas and the two sorcerers, who labored over some mystic duty. The Moradel had no such concern. The duel had fallen into a rhythm, each swordsman taking the measure of the other. Now they moved almost in lockstep, each thrust answered with a parry, each riposte with a disengage. Sweat poured off of each and made hands slippery, and only sounds that could be heard were the grunts of exertion. The fighting was come to the stage where the first to make a mistake would be the one to die. Then a shimmering filled the air to the left, and for an instant Arutha glanced away, only catching himself at the last. But Mermandamas didn't remove his eyes from his opponent and seized the moment, leveling a blow that skidded along the prince's ribs, and Arutha gasped in pain. The Moradel drew back and slashed at Arutha's head, and as his hand came forward, it was brought crushing against an invisible barrier. The Moradel's eyes widened against the invisible barrier. The Moradel's eyes widened as Arutha staggered upright and thrust, skewering Mermandamas through the stomach. The Moradel howled with a dull ululation, staggered and then fell backwards, pulling Arutha's sword from his weakening fingers. Arutha slumped to the floor as the two black-garbed men ran forward to grip him. They hovered over the prince, and Arutha's vision clouded and cleared, focused and unfocused, until the room was stable again. He saw Mamandamas smile as the Moradel spoke in a menacing whisper.
I am a thing of death, Lord of the West. I am ever the servant of darkness.
He laughed weakly, and blood flowed down his chin to drip upon the dragon birthmark.
I am not what I seem. In my death you accomplish your destruction.
He closed his eyes and fell back, his death rattle filling the room. The two men in the black looked on. From Mermandamus's body a strange keening sound came. The figure on the stones puffed up, seeming to swell as if suddenly inflated, like an overripe pod. From the forehead to the crotch, Mermandamus's body ripped, revealing an inner body of green scales, thick black liquid and red blood clots of meat and gouts of white pus were spewed from within the husk that was Mermandamus. Very visceral. I'm glad they gave us such a detailed description of that. Flopping onto the floor like a freshly laden fish. In his terrible convulsion, a leaping flame of bright red appeared, evil and filling the hole with a stench of ages of decay. Then the flame vanished, and the universe opened around them. Sam, hello! I hope you're feeling well. Well, in the time period that this is set in, it was not uncommon for children aged 12 or older to be squires. In Jimmy's particular case, Jimmy was involved in these wars because he was a meddler, and he kept meddling. He kept following them into dangerous situations, which is why he kept being involved in the wars. It wasn't necessarily because he was a child soldier, as much as he was an orphaned thief who was constantly meddling in the affairs. We only have 1.5 pages left, Frost. Let's see if we can power through it. You know what? We're actually, this is at a break. So let's go ahead and run the ads, and that way we won't be interrupted after this point. Yeah, it was quite descriptive. Quite descriptive. We'll go ahead and run the ads. So sorry, Frost. Sorry. I just realized we're at a break before the climax of the chapter, and we've got 2.5 pages left. Sam the Ham, first time in, welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. Grab a seat and settle in. We're about to run ads, so I apologize for that. If you came at the worst possible time. Worst possible time. Okay, so there was a question from Facebook. So Corey, I don't know if you're still in, but you had asked, why are there so few Ossetru heathens? I don't know, because I don't really deal in the religious aspects of most things. I will talk about the history of religions. Ossetru is not terribly old. It's a reconstruction that happened. I think it started about 100 years ago and became popular or formalized in the 1970s. 60s or 70s, I don't remember off the top of my head. But you end up with a lot of, as time goes on, you end up with a lot of pop religions. A lot of people would call them pop cults. I think that's a little bit pointed to call them pop cults, but pop religions where people start embracing an old thing, and then it becomes very popular for a while, it becomes very trendy, and then that popular thing then loses popularity and then loses influence and so on. Crom, I didn't see those bits. Thank you kindly. Hang on. Let me. I didn't even see those come in. I didn't even get a pop for them. Oh, it was because it was in the combos. Crom, thank you kindly for the tips to the Tavern Keeper, my friend. I appreciate you. You should be able to hear me because you got a sub from Quirt. Thank you, my friend. Tips to the Tavern Keeper always appreciated. My audio processing disorder kicked my bottom this stream. I'm still. What all has happened? Oh, so are you not caught up on what happened, Bethany? Would you like me to break down what's going on in this story time? Not sure what happened, or is it a problem with your computer or your ears? I'm now confused because I can go into a little bit more detail about what happened with the story if you'd like. Yeah, yes, Bear, that's important. But yeah, Ossetru became very popular in like the late 90s and especially with the rise of TikTok. And I don't keep up really with what other people are believing or doing, so I couldn't really tell you why it's gained or lost any sort of popularity. But what you will find is that a lot of modern recreations of old Celtic and old Scandinavian religions, they don't hold a lot of water. Like people will take part in them, but then they sort of fall away from them a little bit. And I'm not pointing that they be of legal age in whatever their region if they're going to buy Matty. Yeah, it's very important. You know, the whole time the problem is my brain's connection to my. Oh, I see. I got you. I was confused about what you were talking about. If you want me to give a summary, I will give you a summary of what happened, so that you don't have to worry about what's going on. Um, but one of the big issues that a lot of these modern or modern reconstructionist religions around paganism end up doing is they try to structure them sort of like Catholicism or uh, like like a church, right? Whereas in reality, the way that our ancestors practiced a lot of their spiritual practices was not really religious in the way that we see it today. Most years ago, it just had to do with land and ancestral practices. Like it was they were traditions and like cultural community practices that were done for sake of survival and for sake of consistency within the community, and those were preserved by being handed down from father to son, from mother to daughter, through families, and they were a part of the everyday practices in tradition, which is why when we teach these things in my family, we don't teach them as religious, we teach them as cultural. Because those cultural aspects, cooking with family, passing down recipes, taking the, like blood and bones and waste products from animals, burning them into ash and putting them into gardens and fields. Those are things that we've done for generations. But it's never been religious in the sense that it was done like in a sense of worship. It's always been cultural, as in it's done in reverence and in gratitude to the land and to the knowledge of our ancestors. So it was never necessarily a worship. And even historically, when you look at like Scandinavian worship practices, they don't really hit like that church style of thing until there's some chieftain or some self-important bigwig who they like creates a sort of religious fervor around it. Which the temple at Uppsala is the one that people bring up a lot, which was primarily a center for like very wealthy Swedes who gathered, right? And there were not wealthy Swedes that went there too, but these things, usually when you have these cultural practices that manifest into religion, it usually happens around like one charismatic or one wealthy figure or one very powerful figure, a leader who can make people do things. But when you look at them as they were practiced by common people, they're usually things like, oh, we leave the pukas shared on the edge of our garden or on the edge of a forest. We leave Carnunas' share on the edge of a garden or forest. And this was usually a way of like keeping predators or keeping prey animals in a certain area. So there's a lot more function to it, and it usually ends up getting very flattened out in the modern depiction of it. I'm talking about all of this. I don't even know if Rory's still in here. Oh, Corey. Was it Corey or yeah, Corey. I don't even know if Corey's still in or not. Crystal, thank you for the stars. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated. Creating astrological events over the tavern. You're always being sold, Matty. You're always being sold. Sam was asking about buying Alcohol Castle. That was the legal age thing, not buying Matty. Oh, well, either way. Either way, you have to be legally old enough. Hey, Joker. How's it going, bud? Alright. Looks like the ads are done. Let's get back in. Although whatever is playing in the background sounds like static. Hang on. It's going all right? Good. Are you having a nice relaxing night for story time, my friend? We're gonna just restart this because that was very, very loud for no reason. Okay. Let's get it. We only have 2 pages left for the chapter, so let's get them done. Macros and Pug staggered where they stood, each somehow aware of a change in the fighting nearby. All their attentions were focused upon the place between the universes where the adorning rift was beginning. Each time a thrust came from the other universe, they answered with a patch of energy. The battle had reached its peak a moment before, and now the thrusts were weakening. But still there was danger, for Pug and Macros were exhausted. It would require the utmost concentration to keep the rift between universes from opening. Then pain exploded in their minds as a silver note, a shrieking whistle sounded a signal. From another quarter, a different, unexpected attack came, and Pug could not answer. A thing of captured lives, taken in terrible death, and held against this moment, came flowing towards the rift. Dancing like a mad and stinking red flame, it struck the barriers Pug had erected and shattered them. It tore open the rift and somehow moved between Pug's perceptions and the place where the battle raged, obscuring his sense of what occurred there. Pug felt slightly dazed, and then a warning cry from Macros refocused his attention on the rift which now stood open. Pug worked frantically, and from some deep-hidden reservoir of strength, he drew forth the energy to grip the shredding fabric that held the universes apart. The rift closed violently. Again came the thrust, and again Pug barely held, but he held. Then from Macros came the warning.
Something got through!
Something has come through, came the warning from Riath. Tomas leapt down from the dragon's back and waited behind the life stone. A darkness grew within the hall, vast and powerful, a thing of nightmare taking form. Then it stood forth. It was ebon, without feature and definition, a being of hopelessness, and it was aware. Its outline hinted at a man-shape, but it bulked nearly as large as Riath. Its shadow wings spread, casting gloom about the hall like a palpable black light. And about its head, like a crown, burned a circle of flames, angry red, orange, and seeming to cast no illumination. Tomas yelled to Riath, "It's a dreadlord! Beware! It's a stealer of souls and eater of minds!" But the darkness bellowed in rage and attacked the monstrous thing of nightmare, bringing its magic to play, as well as talons and flame. Tomas started forward, but a presence, another being, entered the phase of time. Tomas moved back into the shadow, while a figure he had never seen before, but one well known to him as Pug, emerged into the light of the gem. The newcomer dodged away from the towering battle that rocked the hall. The quick steps the figure moved towards the life stone. Tomas appeared out of the shadow, standing over the stone so that he was now visible. The figure halted, and a snarl of rage escaped. Splendid in his orange and black armor, the Lord of Tigers, Drakenkorin, confronted a vision beyond his understanding. The Valheru shouted, "No, it's impossible! You cannot live!" Tomas spoke, and his voice was Ashen Shigor's. "So, you've come to see it finished." With a snarl of a tiger, lost in the shrieks and bellows of the larger battle in the hall, the returned Dragon Lord drew his black sword and leapt forward, and for the first time in his existence, Tomas faced an enemy with the power to truly destroy him. The battle was coming to an end as the host of Myrmandamus streamed out of the city, fleeing toward the dim wood. The word of Myrmandamus's disappearance had spread as if blown through Sethanon by a sudden wind. Then, without warning, the Black Slayers, no matter where they were, collapsed, as if their lives had been sucked out of their armor. This, along with the arrival of the Surani and the magicians, and reports of more armies on the horizon, had caused the attack to falter and fail. Chieftain after chieftain ordered his clans away, quitting the battle. With leadership evaporating, the goblins and trolls were slaughtered until the still larger invading army was in a complete rout. Jimmy hurried through the halls of the keep, looking among the dead and wounded for anyone he knew. He dashed up the stairs to the wall overlooking the killing ground and found a clot of Surani blocking the way. He slipped through them and saw a chirurgeon from Landrith standing over the two bloody men who slumped against the wall. Amos had an arrow sticking from his side but was grinning, and Guy was covered in gore and had a terrible looking cut in his scalp. The cut had severed the cord holding the patch over his eye, and the angry empty red socket could be seen. Amos laughed and almost choked.
"Aye, boy. Good to see you."
He looked about the wall.
"Look at all these peacocks."
He waved one hand weakly at the brightly clad Surani soldiers, who looked on with unreadable expressions.
"Done me. But they're the prettiest things I've ever seen."
Then from below came a grinding, followed by a soul-chilling thunderous roar, as if some terrible host of madness was suddenly escaping from hell. Jimmy looked around in startled wonder, and even the Surani exhibited surprise. A trembling filled the keep as the walls began to shake.
"What was that?"
shouted Jimmy. "I don't know, and I don't plan on staying here to find out," said Guy, gesturing to be helped to his feet. He took the outstretched hand of a Surani warrior and got up. He motioned to what appeared to be a Surani officer, who ordered men to pick up Amos. Guy said to Jimmy, "Order who's ever alive to evacuate the keep." Then the rolling motion below increased and staggered, while the howling sound grew in volume. "Tell whoever's alive to evacuate the city." Jimmy ran along the battlement, heading for the stairs. Oh, and so ends chapter 19 of A Darkness at Sethanon. We have but one chapter left, my friends. One chapter left. So, Bethany, to give you a encompassment of what happened, Myrmandamus started attacking Sethanon, and then Guy, Amos, and their forces were able to hold them back for about a day. And then in the nick of time, Makros, Pug, and Tomas showed up on the back of the dragon Riath. And then found their way into the lower vault where the Lifestone was, and now they are fighting Myrmandamus and some horrible creature called a Dreadlord in the bowels of Sethanon, with the Dragon Lords doing their best to push through, and the Dragon Lord Draken Corin, who is the builder of the Lifestone in the city, he popped through as well. So this is where the fight is coming from now, and it is absolutely insane. Gobbo Forge, hello my friend, welcome in. That's crazy, it's been a great book, it really has. We have one chapter left. And then we have, I think, we're 75% of the way through Deathly Hollows. So we're almost to the end of these two books. It's coming up on the end of it. Castle Samarella had a fairly major update we need to fill you in on when the story is done. Castle, are you telling me you're interested in purchasing me? Possibly, if I can get a deal. You know, there's no market quite as lucrative as one for good conversationalists, Matty. I'll tell you. I'm afraid I have to head to bed. It is past my bedtime. Thank you so much for the story and wonderful company. Have a good night, everyone. Hope to be back. Hannah, it was lovely to have you. You were an exceptional patron, and we look forward to having you back. We will be back again on Thursday. What is the life stone? I may have missed the last chapter. So the life stone was an artifact that Draken Corin, who was the dragon lord of the tigers, of the tiger people, he created it to kill the new gods. And it basically drains all of the life from the world, and basically is like a giant laser beam, takes all the life from the world and kills the new gods, was essentially its purpose before Ashen Shagord turned it off and outcast them all. The fact I know Uno won't say no to a deal because I get to tease Matty relentlessly, yeah. Castle, please scroll up and read the update if you can. It would be easier that way. Alright, let me see what we've got going on. Oh, my surgery has been confirmed for the 12th of March, and it's going to be a 4-hour surgery. I'll be at the hospital for at least 3 or 4 months, so I won't be able to get online till I feel okay and I'm at 100%. Please know that I will always be thankful for you regardless of what happens. Thank you for being another family to me and being one of them to help me have my confidence and mind stable. Thank you. Sam, that's wonderful to hear. I know you're going to come out of it stronger and better on the other side, and we will absolutely look forward to your recovery and you coming back to us to enjoy more stories here in the tavern and telling us a great many tales of how you conquered death. Ashen Shagor is Tomas, yes. He is the one who Tomas reincarnated into. Hannah, thank you for the follow over on the Facebook portal. It is wonderful to have you, and I'm so glad that you have decided to mark us on your map. It'll make it easier to find your way back the next time you seek a story. All right, friends, we've got about 15 minutes, and I think somebody cashed in a rant, if I am not mistaken. But yeah, this story has been absolutely exceptional, and I am here for it. Quite enjoyable indeed. Have you seen the stuff she DMs me or does on my channel? No, I haven't. I know that she is relentless and she's a savage, though. So, all right. So let's see. Was it who cashed in? Who cashed in the run? Okay, so we did that hydrate. We did that one. Oh, it was Korn who cashed in a rant. Is Korn still here? Is Steven still here? Good night, Frost. Rest well, my friend. Oh yeah, we'll be popping off here in a minute, so you go off to bed. Thank you kindly for helping. You are always a wonderful barkeep, my friend. Thank you kindly. So it's the Aragorn recasting was the rant that people. In the hunt for Gollum. Oh boy. Wait, wait, hang on. This says that this came out by, oh, this is the 2009 version. Still, wow, alright. Other than the good Captain, Frost is our best barkeep. Oh, I don't know, Bear. You do a pretty good job yourself. It's some stiff competition. Relentless, I will agree with. Savage only in her teasing. And I live for that big sis energy. I know you do. I know you do. So one of the things that is sort of a constant in these discussions. there are some actors who are very committed to their craft. Viggo Mortensen is one of them. Like, Viggo Mortensen was one of the absolute pillars and backbones of the Lord of the Rings when it was being made. Yeah, Matty, you keep the conversation flowing. You're kind and inviting. Still haven't figured out all the commands yet, but that's okay. I still don't know all of the commands. I've been doing this for almost 15 years. Can't expect it. A lot of the actors who played in the original Lord of the Rings were like classically trained actors. They've been doing it for a very long time. And there was a great point of pride for them. Gosh, what's his name? Obviously Ian McKellen is a wonderful actor. He takes his roles very seriously. He treasures his role as Gandalf. And then you have gosh, what's his name? It's escaping me, and I'm ashamed of it. No, not Billy Boyd. The gentleman who played Saruman. I should know his name because he's a legend, and my brain is just not. Yeah, Sir Ian is a wonderful actor, and he always has been. I've rarely seen him in a role that I. Christopher Lee, thank you, Ashley. Ashley said to tell Bear that she's offended because she hasn't gotten a hello. But yeah. Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee saw Saruman and his participation in the Lord of the Rings trilogy as one of his greatest life achievements. And the same was true for a lot of the actors. I know a lot of the actors were very young, so they didn't really appreciate it as much as others did. But one of the people who... Viggo Mortensen was the Henry Cavill on set for Lord of the Rings. He was a massive fan of the writing. Same thing with Christopher Lee and Ian McKellen. They wanted it to be as faithful and accurate. Like, there are a bunch of scenes that Viggo insisted on that are in the deleted scenes and in the extended versions that were incredibly important. Now, Ashley over on TikTok, Bear. So, in a sense, I understand. Like, if it's Viggo who's deciding not to do it, I think he probably feels he's too old to do it effectively. Because how old is Viggo Mortensen now? He's in his 60s, and maybe even older than that. He might be in his 70s. Yeah, he's 67 years old. Bear says big kisses to you, Ashley, on TikTok. Yeah, he's 67 years old. He's not a spring chicken anymore, and he did a lot of physical work to be as exceptional as he was in the film. So Matthew, you said, on one hand, I heard the recasting because they don't want to spend the time and money to CGI DH Viggo. I kind of get that. On the other hand, now that I know about the recasting, whether I see the movie now will depend on who they give the job to. I honestly, I don't think that, and this is just my opinion, they have not done a good job of handling Lord of the Rings properties since the original trilogy. And the original trilogy had some egregious mistakes in it. The original trilogy had some egregious mistakes. But none were so bad as the ones that have been done since. Like the War of the Rohirrim or whatever that the animated film was. I was really looking forward to that, and it was an absolute travesty when it finally came out. Like they had one job and they did not do it very well. The Rings of Power is well produced. Like the Rings of Power looks good. It's very some of the costuming I have issues with, but the Rings of Power looks very good, and a lot of the actors are very talented. But the writing and the framing and the structuring and the casting for a lot of the characters is just not good. It just did not end up working in a Tolkienian sense, and the way that they treated the fans for being upset about the way they handled it was also not very good for the thing. Hey, sorry, I'm back. I had to step out. That's all right, Gunnar. I just started my end of evening rant. Good evening, Castle. Good evening, Hannah. It's good to see you. Now my night is complete. Send my smooches back to Bear. You get smooches back from Ashley. Bear. Even the ones that I liked, like I really liked the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor games. They did not do. I think they're great games, but I think that they didn't do a great job of handling the lore. Like they made a lot of really egregious mistakes in the lore of it. I think that what they did was clever, and I liked some of it, but the mistakes far outweighed the merits of what they did in Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor. And as much as I think that they're some of the best games that have been made in the last 10 odd years, Chopsticks, thank you for the follow over on Twitch. You've marked us on your map, and you should be able to find your way back to the tavern the next time that you seek a story. No, thank you for the smooches. You make an old man happy. I think that they're likely not having Vigo play Aragorn because they don't want any of the old blood if they can avoid it in no. Most franchises don't want to work with Henry Cavill because he's a stickler for lore. Like the only reason, like he left Superman because they kept messing with the lore of Superman. He left The Witcher because they refused to follow the source material. And the only reason why he's working on Warhammer 40k now is because he's been given a lot of the creative license to make sure that they follow the lore. I need to step away for 10 or 15. I might miss the end. I'll probably be on for about another 10 or 15, Bear. I'm not gonna sing because I wore out my voice with that long chapter, but we'll wear this topic out at least. But no, I don't think that Henry Cavill will be in the running for it. The owners of the film and movie rights for Lord of the Rings have made it pretty clear that they don't want to be bothered with any sort of sticklership regarding the source materials. If my stuff is ever adapted, if they aren't faithful as possible, I'm declaring them non-canon. Which, to be fair, you might have to. Alright, mates, need to head off to bed. Crom, it was wonderful to see you again. I'm glad you dropped in. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Rest well, and may you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. My stuff ever gets made into movies or TV, sounds like Cavill might be the right way to ensure my wishes are respected. Yes, and that's the thing, is that these remakes are becoming increasingly, it's a weird way to say it, but increasingly less good. They're caring less and less about what they are making, and caring more and more about how they are making it, if that makes sense. There's far more focus on than the intent of what it is they're doing, than there is any sort of focus on making the thing good. Like, this has been a problem with video games for a while. One more Butterbeard. Thank you, Darth Nexus. Thank you for the roses, my friend. I appreciate you. One of the big problems with video games as of late has been that they're far more focused on, like, building something big or making something for an imaginary audience than they are on making it fun. Like, I have not really played, like, the last fun new game that I played was Black Myth Wukong. And it's one of those ones that wasn't Una, that was Everett. They do look alike in passing though, so you don't need to apologize. That was the boy though. He does look a lot like his mom if they go past too fast. Castle, did you ever play the War in the North? And if you did, how do you feel about how it stood up to the Lord of the Rings? I did not ever play the War in the North. Which one was that, Gunnar? Everyone said hi. Everett. Body type wise, Tom Ellis, maybe Tom Hiddleston. Yeah, perhaps. I don't know how they're going to find somebody who will embody Aragorn the way that Viggo Mortensen did. Like, Viggo Mortensen went out of his... Oh, well, it's alright. Is it wrong I'm used to Una so much that now I can tell her from every... I mean, I should hope so after this point. Matty. Would a good way to make sure my wishes are met be be faithful to the books as a part of the contract? You can, but it'll make studios not want to work with your work. Castle, I'm studying to get my permit. Oh, well, good fun, Hannah. So you're going to learn to drive then. That's wonderful. A whole new world of... See, we kind of forget what a wonderful thing it is to be able to drive, because many of us have been driving for so long that our first cars are dust at this point. But the freedom that you get with being able to drive is a wonderful thing. Buddy. Everett. The War in the North is a Lord of the Rings video game based off the concept of trio, a man, an elf, and a dwarf, causing trouble in the North of Middle-earth, giving a chance for Frodo and the Fellowship to make its way. I've never played. I don't even think I've ever heard of it, Gunnar. I heard of Lord of the Rings Online, which I don't even know if that's still on anymore, but that wasn't very good either. So either shoot myself in the foot or just say this is a non-canon adaptation. I mean, there are more aspects to it than that. You can always self-fund. I mean, look at what Markiplier... I don't know if any of you know who Markiplier is, but Markiplier just took and worked with the dev of a game called Iron Lung, which is a horror game. It's an indie horror game. And he made a 2-hour-long film that was an adaptation of the game. And a lot of people said that it was a little bit long, it should have been shorter, but the broad consensus is that he did a very good job. And that's because he worked hand in hand with the developer to make the movie. So you can go through the route of self-funding, and you can go through the route of shopping around to find a studio that's going to work with you and respect your wishes. The general idea is that if you want a blockbuster made, you have to sell your soul. And by selling your soul, you essentially have to say, okay, I'm going to give up all creative freedom. You get to do with what you want with my things, and that's not something I could ever do. And it's something we talked about that with Tolkien when he had to sell the film and merchandising rights to Lord of the Rings. It broke his heart because he didn't want to. He didn't want to have to do that, because he knew that no one would ever be able to faithfully adapt what he had made to screen. And all the way up until his death, his son widely believed that the only person who disagreed was Simon Tolkien, who was Christopher's son. And Christopher Tolkien constantly pushed to have more and more Lord of the Rings things made so they could make more money. And all he really cared about was the money. He liked the drama aspect of it, which every other Tolkien in Tolkien's family, they were all against the drama aspect of it. And so the reason why we're getting what we're getting today is because Simon Tolkien has a much lower standard for lore canon and a much higher expectation for drama and modernity in Lord of the Rings products. I agree, nobody will pull off Aragorn like Viggo did. They got that casting spot on. I agree. Like, you will very rarely find somebody who is better cast than Viggo Mortensen for Aragorn. Viggo Mortensen will forever be remembered as Aragorn exclusive. He's done dozens of other great roles. He's an exceptional classically trained actor. But he will forever be remembered as Aragorn because of how perfectly he was cast and how much he loved that role. or came out and around shortly after the Lord of the Rings Conquest. But I thought it was a great game, really good RPG, great mechanics. But I didn't know how close it was lore-wise. I'll look it up and I'll let you know, Gunnar. I'll look up what the lore of it was and I'll tell you how close or how far off it is. In that case, if you guys want to make animations in the future, I'll give you full permissions to. Well, it's one of the things that the lady really wants to do is if the tavern grows big enough, we would like to open a studio where we can make short films and animations and even shows that are exclusively funded by us and by tavern patrons. It's a goal. It's an expensive goal, but it's something that eventually we would like to do, and we think that it's something that at least us overseeing and finding the talents for it is something that we could do. The lore is what kept me playing World of Warcraft for so long. The way it continues every expansion. Yeah, I stopped playing World of Warcraft back in Mists of Pandaria, just because I thought the lore was getting a little bit ridiculous. But I do agree that World of Warcraft is one of the most consistent, though I think they've softened the lore a lot. Like, World of Warcraft used to be a really brutal world, and now it's sort of soft. And I don't know any other way to put it. It's just like, it's gone from like a war game, like literally the World of Warcraft, to like a cozy game sort of thing. And if that's what people who play it like, then, you know, it is what it is. But the change in tone for World of Warcraft has been drastic. I think the issue with recasting new actors for any role, any of the original of the Lord of the Rings movies, is because all those individuals truly believed they were making something, and I just don't think anyone new coming in has that same number. Well, and just look at the difference between the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. Like, the performances in the Hobbit are pretty good, but they're not even close on scale to the performances in Lord of the Rings. They're not even close. It is sad. Greed is a powerful. It is terribly sad. Love Markiplier. I've been watching him and following him since 2015. Actually, did you watch his film? How did you feel about it if you did? Maybe a little Chibi Castle? We have talked about something like that. We don't know if that. We'll probably do the children's book first, which is the children's book, and we're looking to do little animations for her story. And then we'll go from there. I just don't think anyone new is going to have that same hunger. Yes. I'll focus on the book side first, then the audio book. Then I'll talk to you and Una about the animation if you want. I'm happy to fully contribute to for my baby. Well, see, there you go. It's unfortunate because I was cautiously optimistic about the search for Gollum. I was excited when I heard about it. And because I had heard about it all the way back, I think in 2020 was the first time I heard echoes of it. And then after that, as like Rings of Power came out and the War of the Rohirrim came out and all of these, I progressively became less and less excited for it. Because they've just not handled them well. And it's not like it was little. It's not like it was little thing, and it wasn't even little things in the first Lord of the Rings trilogy. But it's not like it was nitpick things that were being done wrong. It was whole world and canon and lore changing things that they've done, and it makes it so that even if you want to love the show, and a lot of people do love the shows and love the movie, because as far as I'm aware, the film was very well animated, the War of the Rohirrim. But they had one line of lore that they had to follow, and they changed it. They broke it. So it makes it hard to get on board with it or get excited about anything new that's coming out, because people just tend to they want more to leave their mark on the thing than to represent the thing well and make it for the fans of it. I mean, if Five Nights at Freddy's has taught us not, because the Five Nights at Freddy's movies are not good movies. They're not exceptionally well done movies. They are cheesy, B-rated horror flicks, but they have made so much money and people love them because that's what the games were. The games were cheesy B-rated horror games. C-rated horror games. I've actually not yet seen it. I plan on it, though. I heard it's good. For everyone who I have heard who's watched it, a couple of people have said that it's a little bit slow, and it drags in places, but in the overall, especially considering what it is, it's an exceptional film. I demand to see Chibi Castle. They're not good at all. I was and it's even The Hobbit. I was sorely disappointed in. Now, Una, she likes The Hobbit. I didn't. I was very upset by The Hobbit, and that was like the first betrayal for me. And maybe that's why the rest of them hurt more, because the biggest thing for me, like, I can put up with all the meandering that goes on in the three films. I hate that they made it a trilogy, but I could put up with that too. The biggest issue that I take with it is not all of the little changes and the dragging on and the some parts are faster than they should be, some parts are slow. The big part that I have with it is the damn romance between Feely and Keely and Toriel the elf. It just it bothers me so bad, because that's the kind of drama that Tolkien was worried they were going to pump into his work, and that's exactly what they did. You said 90 to 95% of the Peter Jackson to the trilogy were unnecessary. Were there any changes that were made were good or fine? Yes. So, generally speaking, most of the changes were unnecessary. The only part I agree with removing from the original trilogy is the full breadth of the scene with Old Man Willow and Tom Bombadil. However, Tom Bombadil was very necessary for that film because of the Barrow White Blade. So one of the things you'll see online a lot is that Éowyn slays the Witch King because of the whole I cannot be slayed by any man thing. And it's a very popular thing online, and I'm not trying to, pee in anyone's Kool-Aid here. Or cornflakes, whatever the saying is. But the killing of the Witch King was a combination of Éowyn distracting him and defending the body of oh my gosh, my brain's not working. The king of the Rohirrim, the king of Rohan, and Mary stabbing him with the Barrow White Blade. Those two things are incredibly important aspects of the story. And because we got rid of all of Tom Bombadil, which admittedly slows down the story a lot, just to kind of explain the magic, but that was part of the way that the story was told. But when we lose the context of the Barrow Whites and them getting the Barrow White blades, we end up losing a lot of the context for that battle. That is, like, I agree with them cutting out most of, like, the Old Man Willow and the Tom Bombadil scene. That's fine. Like, certainly that would have been an extra 30 minutes that the film certainly could not have spared. But an extra 10 minutes to add in the fact that where they got the Barrow White blades and all of it definitely was necessary, and they should not have left it out. I've watched you live for 300 minutes. It's exceptional, Driver. Thank you. And you asked the question. You said, what is your opinion of the Resident Evil movies? Okay, so I have an unpopular opinion of the Resident Evil movies. I like the first one. I don't think it's faithful to the game, but as a film adaptation, I like the first one. I don't really like any of the ones after. Like, the first and second one are, like, okay. And then after that, they get to be ridiculous. And they're fun ridiculous. They're like the Fast and Furious movies for me. After the first three, they get really ridiculous, but they're sort of like fun, campy, cheesy, ridiculous. Like, they kind of know what they're doing, and they're kind of pointing at the audience and finger gunning, that sort of thing. But I feel like the Resident Evil movies could have been done much better. But I do have a soft spot in my heart for the first one. I don't think it's a good adaptation of the game, but I do like the first movie. I think the first movie is sort of a good horror action thriller. Did you ever see? I saw 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. I watched Fast and Furious over the weekend. I love the Fast and Furious movies. I think that the first three are really good films. I think the first three are like pretty good actual like movies, and then all of the ones after that are just ridiculous, like over the top action films, in my opinion. But I do like the Fast and the Furious movies. I think they're campy. I think they're fun. I think it's funny how they've expanded it out into like drifting cars in space and, and whatnot. I do enjoy a good cheesy campy film every now and again. You mean Fast and Furious 118? Yeah, exactly. The first movie took place in Marvel. Yeah, if the Fast and Furious movies took place in the Marvel universe, Thanos never even would have made it to Earth. The power of family would have defeated him before he even broke atmosphere. There was no reason for The Hobbit. The Hobbit could have been 2 films, at most, 2 films. But it definitely should not have been 3 films, especially considering they cut major aspects. Like, I was fine with him taking out Bjorn, the shapeshifter, if it was going to be 1 film. But to have it be 3 films and not have Bjorn in there was ridiculous. And I know he's in some of the deleted scenes, like he's in some of in the extended edition, but the fact that his full arc is not in there, and they still made it 3 films is ridiculous to me. I'm so upset. They made so many of them. They did. And they'll probably make more. There'll probably be more Fast and because they make money. The Fast and the Furious movies still make money, which is insane. The real question is, who's going to see the newest Dracula? I'm overly excited. Who's making the newest Dracula, Gunnar? That's the question. I have only seen the first 2 28 days. Yeah, I've only seen 28 days and 28 weeks later. I've not seen any of the ones after that. Though I've been told that they're pretty alright. But I don't know. I got burnt out on horror films in the mid-2010s. There were too many Saws, too many fatal Final Destinations, too many remakes of all of the Annabelle and there was too many. I stopped having any enjoyment of them in the mid-2010s. I was tempted to see 28 Years Later, The Bone Castle, because of Ralph Fiennes, but ultimately, Ralph Fiennes is an exceptional actor, but he's done a few stinkers in the last 5 years or so it's sort of hit or miss. Thanos, I'm going near the planet Ebony Maw. Why? Thanos Toretto. I was excited to see it because I liked the first 2, but all I heard about it was the whole 28 inches later thing meme, which turned out to be a prosthetic. Interesting. I don't even want to know. Don't tell me. Don't tell me any more than that. That's all I need to hear. Gonna. The new Dracula, I don't know who's making it, but I've seen it on TikTok for ages, and I'm just really excited. Well, if you're really excited, I'm really excited, Gunnar. Let's see who's making it. Oh, you know what? No, I have seen some of these, and it is ridiculous. I've seen clips from this, but yes, I was super mad about that too. I named my snake after Bjorn. That's how much I love it. Yeah, Bjorn was a major part. Bjorn and Tom Bombadil are major parts of explaining the magic of the world of Middle-earth. And it's just bad. It's just bad that they took them out. And there are so many things in Lord of the Rings that did not need to be changed that they changed for one reason or another. Like we've talked about the Arwen example forever. Like Arwen has, I think, like there's a grand total of like 2 paragraphs in the whole book that mention Arwen in Lord of the Rings. Glorfindel is a major part of the story leading up to that point, as well as a major part of the Elven kingdoms in Middle-earth. And the way that they set it up is like Arwen left against her father's will and went out and found Frodo. That's not how it happens in the book. Glorfindel just happens to be one of the elven like chieftains and lead warriors who was sent out by Elrond, who happened upon Frodo and his company, right? So they kind of just it's all oversold, and I understand why they did. Again, Liv Tyler was very big in and up and coming in Hollywood at the time. She was very attractive. She's a lovely woman, and she was very hot in Hollywood. Like everybody wanted her in their films. She was doing a lot of really big films, and her dad was really pushing her career. And when Peter Jackson cast her, she wanted more screen time, and he wanted to give it to her. So I get it. That was for the star power. That was to make the film more money, and it did bring people in. A lot of people who probably never would have watched Lord of the Rings went to see it because Liv Tyler was in it. So, is it that bad? I was excited to see a vampiric love story. It's just, from everything that I've seen about it, it is very campy. That it's got good moments, but that it is incredibly campy, from what I have been led to believe and told, and from a few trusted reviewers I know who have told me that it had its moments, but overall it was very campy. Well, yeah, like the Council of Elrond being cut is absolutely acceptable, because the only thing that was designed to do was to show the extent of Bilbo's aging and madness, and to show a sort of proverbial passing of the cup to Frodo. That happens a lot easier in film, so we didn't need as much of it in the film to really see that legacy was being handed on, and that Bilbo was getting sick and getting old. Like, that was much easier portrayed in the film, so we didn't need as much of that. The Council of Elrond being shorter was fine. That was one of those things that it was fine that they changed. The same thing with the Council of the Ents, right? Like, the Ents Council lasts like 8 chapters in the book. It didn't need to last that long in the films, so it was fine. Luke Besson Productions, Europa Corp, and TF1 Film Productions. Oh, for the Dracula love story. I won't lie, I won't be able to watch the new Hunger Games without going Voldemort is Snow. Oh, Nitso, hello, my friend. Good to see you. So Arwen can't go to the Undying Lands because of Aragorn, but Legolas can just smuggle his emotional support dwarf into the Undying Lands. As far as we know, he doesn't go to the Undying Lands. At least to the best of my knowledge. I might be lying to myself there. But as far as I know, Gimli does not go to the Undying Lands. That makes sense, but when I got to it in the book, I was shocked. Also, why did the Hobbit cut out Bronn as much? That might not be his name, but the guy from Dale. Oh, Bard. Yeah, well, that was another problem I had with The Hobbit. I will... Hang on. I actually have a note of misunderstandings. Let me bring up the document real quick. Okay, no. Okay, so Gimli does go to the Undying Lands, but he doesn't go there to live. He goes there for healing, and he dies in the Undying Land, and he's one of the only mortals to actually go to the Undying Lands. Gimli does go, but he dies there. He's one of the only mortals to go to the Undying Lands. And he dies in Valinor. He is one of the only mortals to do so. But yeah, one of the big things that they did uh, with Bard's character is that they cast what is Owen something. I can't remember his name, but he's very attractive man, and they were so busy being like, hey, look how attractive and manly he is in all of his scenes that they did nothing to build him up as a leader, and the book does a lot to build him up as a leader. So the whole thing with Bard, they completely neutered his whole character arc, just to have some eye candy during the scenes in Dale. Yeah, in order for Arwen to marry Aragorn, she has to surrender her eternal life, if you will. Luke Evans, thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Not Owens, Luke Evans. Thank you, Ashley. Nana, thank you for the follow over on TikTok. You've marked the tavern on your map. You should be able to find your way back the next time you seek a story. Yeah, it's the same thing that happened with Beren and Luthien in the Silmarillion, because Beren is an elf or a dwarf, but he's immortal, and Luthien is the princess of the elves of the forest, and she surrenders her immortality to be with Beren, and the love story between Aragorn and Arwen is meant to reflect that. And it's basically the rule that the Valar established when the sons of Eowyn, who is Elrond's father, basically he was a half elf who came to Valinor and asked the Valar for help. And when he came back with the Silmarillion upon his head, he was given. All of those who had committed the doom of Mandos, all of those who had been left behind, they were forgiven by the Valar. But some of them were not. Many of them were, and they were offered the chance to come back. And you have the sea longing and all of that. I should do story times on this because it's really fascinating aspects of the lore. But both of the sons, Elrond and his brother, were given the option to either become fully immortal like the elves, or to be mortal and live on in Middle-earth. Elrond chose to be immortal. His brother chose not to. All of the lines of men in Middle-earth, especially those of Gondor and the North, they are descended from Elrond's brother. So technically, Aragorn is Arwen's 92nd cousin or something. Luke Evans, the actor who looked more like Legolas than Orlando Bloom did. It's yeah, to a degree, did. To a degree. I forgot what the question was. Oh, right. We're talking about the recasting of Aragorn. So I will be tentative. I try to give all things Tolkien some grace because I love Middle Earth. I love Tolkien. I love all of the things. That was a whole meme at the time. Yes, it was. 92nd cousin, I think, is fair game. Giving the past president married his third. Yeah, I mean it's. And most of the British royalty have been marrying their cousins off and on. British and Scandinavian royalty have been marrying their cousins, first and second cousins, off and on, for the last 600 years, maybe even longer. Can't really point a finger at 92nd cousin. Out of left field, but what is your Warhammer 40k chapter? I don't remember what they're called. It's been a long time since I've. The Adeptus Astartes is one that I like, and the Necro ones, I like them as well. I can't remember what they're called, but you know what I mean. Like necrophages or something. Again, it's been a long time since I've done. I should do Warhammer story times because I like Warhammer too. It's been a long time since I read the Warhammer books, though. I know a lot of people like the Blood Angels. I like the Adeptus because they are the ones with the dreadnoughts, and the dreadnoughts are super cool. I love the dreadnoughts. They are very cool. Oh. All right, friends. I think that this is where we're going to end up for the evening. Love these stories and books. Well, Nana, I'm glad that you were able to drop in and join us. I hope you've been enjoying the story times. We will be back again on Thursday evening with more story time. Have you tried Baldur's Gate 3, Castle? Forgive me for not remembering. I haven't, but the lady has. The lady has played Baldur's Gate 3. I have not. Also, recommendations on books, where to start. Message me, Gunnar. I'll send you a list of where to start with the Warhammer books. Let's see if any of our friends are over on the Twitch portal. But for everyone else, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight for Storytime. It was absolutely spectacular. Well, the lady and I have it. I guess I could give it a try. I do love D&D. D&D, Magic, Warhammer. I love these things. Anything that's got really well written and deep lore, I adore it. So, but all right, friends, this is where we're going to end for this evening. I will see you all back again. Good night. What time? I'm in cold. Nana, we usually start sometime between 5 and 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's not super well set because I work quite a bit, but we do our best to be as on time as possible. Rarely make it, but we do our best. Thank you for another lovely afternoon, Castle. Glad I got back to say goodnight. I'm glad you did too, Bear. Rest well, my friend. Hannah, good night. Rain, good night. Nana, good night. Ashley, holding up the bar over on TikTok. Have a wonderful evening. Nana, absolutely our pleasure. Matty, Bethany, Milu, Tyson, Gunnar, and all who are still with us over on the Twitch portal, and anywhere else you all might still be hanging out. Thank you all for your time. It's absolutely a wonderful evening, and I look forward to the next time we gather here, my friends. And while it is sad that we are parting, we will gather again soon here in the tavern. But until we do, I will bid you all stay bloodthirsty, my friends. Until next time, good night, and we'll see you then.